You should just kill yourself. Long Chen's voice resounded loudly across the battlefield. He appeared incredibly arrogant just by standing there. Damn, boss really is the boss. He doesn't show off lightly, but when he does, he goes all out, praised Guaran. The distraction resulted in him being sent flying by the golden-horned elder of the blood race. With Wild being the main force and him supporting, they were able to fight on par with him. Although Wild was in his berserk state, he wasn't able to kill his opponent. As for the golden-horned elder, he was shocked inside. Wild was growing stronger and stronger as he fought, as if some ancient beast was awakening within him. Guaran hastily flew back to support Wild, but before he could, the heaven-splitting blade slashed down on that elder. The elder's hair stood on end as a sensation of death swelled up within him. Ignoring Wild, he swung his carved blade behind him. As a result, his arm exploded. With brute power, the old man injured him. Then the heaven-splitting blade grew softer, and by sacrificing power, it seemed to flash through the air at the elder's head. Long Chen himself was stunned, amazed by the old man's saber technique. It had truly reached the point of perfection, and Long Chen was definitely lacking in comparison. The elder opened his mouth, and a blood sword shot out to strike the heaven-splitting blade. This was one of his killing moves, and he had used it on Wild right at the start. Anyone else without Wild's tough skull would have died. However, the heaven-splitting blade was not stopped by the attack. It merely paused for a moment before slicing through the blood sword and the elder's scalp, ripping it off his head. As for his horns, they came flying off as well. Golden fluid immediately gushed out of the wound, and that golden liquid made Wild go crazy. He actually tossed away his bone club, wrapped his arm around the elder's head, and began sucking on the liquid. Wild's sudden actions caught even the old man off guard, and his third blow almost landed on him. He barely managed to stop it. Ah! The elder suddenly let out a horrendous cry. That golden liquid seemed to be his life essence. As Wild sucked it up, his body rapidly withered. He transformed into a desiccated corpse in but a moment. When Wild was done, he seemed sad to have run out of that golden liquid. The golden mark in his eyes had grown clearer. A golden diamond could vaguely be seen in the space between his eyebrows. There seemed to be some images within it, but they were too vague to tell what they were. In just a breath's time, the elder was dead. Even the red-haired man didn't have time to react, as all his attention had been on Long Chen. The fact that the latter was able to receive an attack with his divine item bare-handed was shocking. Now when he looked at Wild, the red-haired man's expression changed. Blood barbarian? This time, it was Long Chen's turn to be surprised. This mysterious man actually recognized Wild's true race. He himself had only learned a bit about Wild's origins from the leader of the original devil race, Yu Shihan. However, even Yu Shihan had only been able to say that Wild belonged to the emperor of the barbarian race, the Blood Barbarians. She didn't have any further information about them. Based on the red-haired man's reaction, it seemed that he hadn't only recognized Wild's origins but was also afraid. It seems that you know quite a bit. Since you have at least a bit of learning, maybe even a few days spent reading, I'll give you some face. Kneel and wash your neck and I'll send you on your way, said Long Chen with a hint of praise. The red-haired man's expression sank. Foolish human, do you know who you're talking to? Long Chen shook his head and pointed at the remaining experts of the blood race who were being slaughtered. I don't know who you are, nor do I care. I just want to tell you that if you keep talking, all your people will be killed. Do you really not feel the slightest urgency? Long Chen was truly a bit curious. It seemed that this red-haired man didn't particularly care about his brethren dying all around him. So why had he put in all the effort to cross worlds? What does their life or death have to do with me? Useless people will naturally die on the battlefield sooner or later, it makes no difference. I just came because my hands were getting itchy to slaughter some experts from your region. It seems that you and the Blood Barbarian are the strongest experts of this place. Report your name. The red-haired man recovered from his shock and sneered. My name is very simple. It's just one word, sacred. Sacred? What a stupid name. Never. You bastard, you dare to blaspheme me? Roared the red-haired man. He was called the Sacred Son, which meant that Long Chen was calling himself his father. Blaspheme? Don't put it in such a vile way. I'm only interested in blaspheming goddesses, said Long Chen. The word blaspheme made him think of Ming Zhongyue. That was his first time truly blaspheming someone. Stupid human. Beings full of greed and darkness such as yourselves shouldn't exist in this world. The red-haired man suddenly raised his arms. The blood sun behind him spread out, painting the entire world red. As the blood chi filled the world, the laws of heaven and earth changed. The red-haired man turned this world into his domain. It quickly spread like a disease, claiming every bit of the surroundings. The martial heaven continent's senior experts' expressions changed. In an ancient text, there was a recording: the blood race has fiends capable of wresting away the good fortune of heaven and earth. Their blood dyes the blue sky red. They control the laws and exterminate life. That's most likely talking about this phenomenon, said Chu Jianying gravely. Many members of the senior generation thought of that text. Legend was that the blood race's emperors possessed terrifying secret arts. It seemed that this sacred son came from the emperor race of the blood race. Don't worry, I'm here. No matter how arrogant he is, I'll kill him with a slash, said the old man, gripping the heaven-splitting blade tightly. Even he had been affected by Zi Yan's music. It felt like he had returned to his younger days, and he grew even more heroic. You're learning from Long Chen. Does having the heaven-splitting blade on your shoulder feel comfortable? Chu Jianying glanced at the old man oddly. It does feel a bit off, but it definitely looks very arrogant. It's too bad that the heaven-splitting blade isn't a broadsword, or it would be more natural, chortled the old man. If Long Chen doesn't want this little fellow, I'll take him. We'll see if a sacred son can also have the crap beaten out of him. However, the old man also knew that the sacred son wouldn't be his opponent. Long Chen wouldn't miss out on this chance to exchange blows with such an expert. The blood sun rumbled, infecting the entire world, but Long Chen merely continued to watch as it happened. The blood race's experts on the battlefield were starting to crumble. They had thought that the sacred son had come to save them, but he was completely ignoring them. They began to flee. Fleeing quickened their deaths. The fourth step nether passage experts had been killed. By fleeing, they were giving up their defenses. The martial heaven continent's experts chased them down, slaughtering millions of them in the blink of an eye. After 10 breaths' time, only a very small number of them managed to escape by luck. The rest were all dead. This could be considered an absolute victory. Having gathered a huge amount of essence blood, once this battle was over, they could refine it into immemorial essence blood. Rather than hunting down the stragglers that had gotten away, they were more interested in the sacred son. Boss, this fellow looks pretty strong. We'll probably need you to personally fight. With the battle over, Guoran and the others came over to Long Chen's side. The blood chi continued to grow. Shouldn't we interrupt his technique? He'll just get stronger like this, said Chu Yao. No need. Let him reveal his full power. I want to see just how strong he is, said Long Chen. The emperors of the blood race? Were they really so powerful? The world shook as the light of the blood sun continued to infect it. The red-haired man seemed to become the god of this world. Are you done yet? Tell me when you are. It's getting late, and we need to get back for dinner soon, said Long Chen impatiently. The red-haired man coldly looked at Long Chen. Red ripples whirled around him. Fine. This level is enough to kill you. The red-haired man vanished, causing everyone to jump. Long Chen's hand suddenly swung out, and the red-haired man reappeared, flying back. There was a deep handprint on his face. Idiot, you're just a split body. Do you think you're qualified to fight me? Sneered Long Chen. The light of the blood sun infected this place, turning it into the red-haired man's special domain. He was able to freely teleport within it. Long Chen had long since been ready for this, as this domain was similar to his lightning domain. This blood light was a secret art of the blood race's emperors. He had been wanting to use this technique to subdue Long Chen and then soul search him to find out what was going on. The red-haired man felt that Long Chen was extremely strange. He sensed danger, but he wasn't able to sense any pressure from him. Based on his combat experience, This meant that Long Chen had some kind of supreme treasure protecting him, while his own combat power wasn't very high. But this slap woke him up from this delusion. He hadn't even been able to sense the slap. Fourth Captain of the Dragonblood Legion, Yu Zifeng, here for pointers. The red-haired man was shocked and infuriated to find that before he could unleash another attack, someone he had found insignificant before stepped forward, unleashing a streak of sword chi at him. When Yu Zifeng had seen that Long Chen wasn't following up on his slap, he knew that Long Chen didn't care to fight. Not wanting to miss such a good chance, he stepped forward. Yu Zifeng's sword chi sliced through the red light domain, and the red-haired man's heart shook. The seemingly weak Yu Zifeng actually possessed such a sharp attack. With a snort, he swung his jagged sword. The teeth of that sword seemed to suck in the power of the entire world, causing the void to collapse and laws to crumble. Yu Zifeng's expression changed. He had never witnessed such a power. His intuition was telling him that he could not receive this attack. His sword flashed and he unleashed 3 more rays of sword chi. Although they came later, they perfectly merged with his first attack, combining at the exact moment that they met the jagged sword. Sword chi exploded and the red-haired man's sword shuddered. The majority of his power had been cancelled out, and due to that, he no longer had the power to unleash his strike at Yu Zifeng. Violet lightning pierces the clouds. Yu Zifeng pointed his sword at the red-haired man. With his left hand in a sword seal, he pressed his forefinger and middle finger on his sword, causing a draconic roar to come from it. A bolt of violet sword light shot out of his sword. The red-haired man was shocked. Theoretically, any attack from his enemies should be consumed by his red light domain. That was because this domain was his to command, and the laws here were under his control. He could be considered the ruler of this world. However, Yu Zifeng's attacks were able to ignore it. The sword light instantly reached him, and he hastily twisted his hand, causing the sword light to shoot past his ear, where he felt a sharp pain. His ear had been severed, but he was still stunned, unable to comprehend how such a person, who could ignore his domain, could exist in this world. 10,000 swords returned to the source. Just at this moment, golden light exploded. Up in the sky, sharp swords filled the air, pointing at the red-haired man. Yu Zifeng let out a cry, and those swords streamed toward him. Blood Sea Divine Shield. The red-haired man tore the air with his hand, causing a giant blood-colored shield to appear in front of him. Those swords smashed into his shield and tore through it. The red-haired man had never encountered someone capable of breaking this defense, even amongst the other experts of the blood race that used swords. However, none of those experts was a sword cultivator. The swords were still very sharp even after having their power reduced by his shield. He hastily retreated, tearing at the void once more to summon more shields. He summoned 3 in one go. The swords lost a great deal of power just going through the first shield. The second weakened them more, and by the third, they were no longer able to pierce any further. However, that didn't allow the red-haired man to relax at all. He sensed something off with his surroundings. His concept of space-time was out of alignment. It felt like the surroundings had been sliced apart. Space-time was cut apart. A cut appeared on the red-haired man's waist, slashing him in 2. Even Long Chen jumped in shock. Just when did Yu Zifeng become so terrifying? His sword was able to cut through the laws of space and time. That was powerful enough to practically slay gods and devils. However, just as the world was displaced, it returned to normal, except for the 2 halves of the red-haired man's body. Cracks appeared in it, and there was a look of terror in his eyes. Just at that moment, the blood sun behind him wrapped him in runes and instantly healed his injuries. Yu Zifeng sighed inside. In the end, he still failed. That had been a supreme attack of the Heavenly Sword Gate, and even though he had stepped into the Nether Passage realm, he couldn't fully control it yet. Shaking his head, he slowly raised his sword in order to sheath it on his back. He no longer had the power to fight. However, just then Long Chen shouted, "Zifeng, hold it. Be merciful. Don't kill him." Yu Zifeng stared. He had less than 20% of his energy left. If the battle continued, he would be the one to die. "I know you like to consume your prey by yourself, but as the 4th captain of the Dragonblood Legion, for you to fight him is bullying him. Leave him alone." Leave him as a dog for people to train on. After all, we haven't seen another sacred son of the blood race. Don't you think you should let others get a chance to fight him as well? Long Chen waved his hand, not giving Yu Zifeng a chance to speak and pulling him aside. Since Yu Zifeng was used to being solitary and didn't quite understand, Gu Yang and the others instantly leaped forward. I am the first captain of the Dragon Blood Legion. I'm too embarrassed to even fight you. I, the second captain, am the same. The third captain is the same. Guoran said, damn, I was actually going to thicken my face and test him a bit, but now that all of you say that, as the general of the Dragon Blood Legion, it would be too embarrassing for me. I'm the same as you. The Martial Heaven Continent's expert's expressions grew odd. Beitang Rushuang was in immense pain as she tried to hold back her laughter. Everyone knew that of the 4 captains of the Dragon Blood Legion, the strongest was actually the 4th captain, Yu Zifeng. They weren't ranked according to power. However, the red-haired man didn't know this, because when he scanned through the auras upon arriving, the only one who had given him a sense of danger was Long Chen. But Long Chen's aura was also strange, making him feel like he only had some kind of mysterious treasure and wasn't actually strong himself. The other ones capable of giving him a slight sense of pressure were Chu Yao, Lu Ruyan, Dong Mingyu, Beitang Rushuang, the old man, and others on their level. However, the old man was already old, and he had a secret art to use against him. As for Yu Zifeng, Gu Yang, Guoran, and the others, the red-haired man hadn't even cared about them. But Yu Zifeng had almost killed him in just a few blows. If he had just been a bit stronger, this body of his would have been crushed by the laws of space and time when he attempted to restore it from being cut. Yu Zifeng was already frightening by himself. When he had raised his sword, the red-haired man hadn't known that he was putting away his sword. Instead, the red-haired man thought that Yu Zifeng was preparing an even more powerful attack. There weren't any heavenly Tao fluctuations around Yu Zifeng for him to sense what his next action would be. The techniques of supreme sword cultivators were always invincible. Yu Zifeng had stated his status upon fighting. He was the 4th captain of the Dragon Blood Legion. When the red-haired man learned that there was a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd captain, as well as a general, he was bewildered and frightened. Long Chen laughed in his heart. Seeing that Long Chen was capable of frightening this terrifying expert of the blood race to such an extent, Chu Jianying and the others held back smiles. It was this sacred son's misfortune to run into someone so wicked. Child, don't make things hard on yourself. You should just suicide. I feel bad for you, said Guoran sympathetically. Are you trying to scare me? I'm not going to believe this nonsense. The red-haired man's expression twisted, and he suddenly roared, swinging his jagged sword at Long Chen and the others. It seemed that he had sensed something from everyone's expressions. The red-haired man's sword unleashed a blaze of light that flew toward Long Chen. This one attack also encapsulated the Dragon Blood Legion. Just you? You aren't worthy of Long Chen fighting. Tang Wan'er stepped forward. Wind blades burst into existence, annihilating his attack. One small, transparent wind blade shot toward the red-haired man, with the others following its lead. Scram! Roared the red-haired man. Boom! An explosion shook the sky. The wind blade was sent flying, with the others exploding like a waterfall. Tang Wan'er waved her hand, causing the main wind blade to return to her. As for the red-haired man, he staggered back from the impact. He hadn't expected that tiny wind blade to possess such immense power. Bitch! The red-haired man felt like he was going to cough up blood from irritation. Having his attack so easily destroyed by Tang Wan'er infuriated him. He was a sacred son of the blood race, a supreme expert. He had coincidentally seen that a battle was occurring in the Yin-Yang world at the end of the spatial channel, and so he had decided to come over. He had thought that he would crush his opponents beneath his feet as soon as he arrived. However, he ended up being the one crushed. A pair of blood-colored wings appeared on his back. Then his forehead split open, and his blood suddenly wriggled out like 2 snakes, going down to his chin. Combined, they formed a bizarre rune. In that instant, his aura ignited like oil on fire. Heaven and earth rumbled, and a horrifying pressure crashed down on the battlefield. Tang Wanner jumped in fright, feeling like a viper had locked onto her. Die! Blood marks covered the red-haired man's jagged sword. When he slashed it this time, he made all the stars in the sky quiver. Tang Wanner shot back, and wind blades poured out of her manifestation like water from a sea. Another main wind blade took the lead in guiding them. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Insignificant, sneered the red-haired man, actually using a human expression to express his contempt. Boom. Tang Wanner's wind blades once more exploded. But just before they clashed, the sound of a zither rang out. The red-haired man's sword paused for just an instant. In that instant, Tang Wanner flew out of his range. She called back her wind blades that had been sent flying, her face a bit pale. The red-haired man glared over in a certain direction. There, the zither fairy was seated lotus-style with the seven-string C suppressing zither on her knees. Strands of her hair floated in a slight breeze. An air of tranquility surrounded her. The red-haired man's attack was affected by her zither music, and the power of his blood sun was suddenly interrupted. As a result, he had only managed to unleash less than half of this attack's power. Die slut! Having encountered another person that could ignore his blood-light domain, the red-haired man felt like he was going crazy. He immediately abandoned Tang Wanner to charge at Ziyen. Ziyen looked at the ferocious red-haired man and shook her head. Your fire is too extreme. You need to calm down and cut down on the heat. I'll cut down your head, you dash. The red-haired man somehow stopped in the middle of his furious shout. The sky suddenly grew colder, and snowflakes began to fall. The temperature continued to sink, and his blood-light domain was starting to lose control. It was growing unstable. He immediately stopped and looked around. Soon after, he saw Yijiqiu floating there like a goddess of ice and snow in her pure white dress. Yijiqiu's divine ice sword was already raised, and she slashed it down. A thin line streaked through the air, leaving behind a trail of blisters. The cut space was frozen and unable to repair itself. The red-haired man was startled once more. Yijiqiu's sword was different from Yu Zifeng's, but the sense of danger was the same. Runes revolved around his sword as he fought against the freezing effect. His blood-light domain surged. Boom! Blood-light met the white snow attack. As a result, the world transformed, becoming a mix of red and white. Yijiqiu held back a groan as she was forced back 10 steps before steadying herself. The red-haired man was covered in frost, like he had transformed into a snowman. When he opened his mouth, white mist came out and instantly turned into ice that fell to the ground. Slaughter him together. Lu Ruyan attacked with her willow branches while Chu Yao's wooden thorns also joined in. Blood light swallows life, roared the red-haired man. The blood sun suddenly grew larger, unleashing light that made Lu Ruyan and Chu Yao's attacks wither, confounding the two of them. His domain leans toward death and corrosion. If your attacks are scattered, his domain can wither them all, called out Long Chen. So that's the case. Lu Ruyan and Chu Yao exchanged a glance. Lu Ruyan's towering willow tree vanished. In her human form, she attacked with a whip. Bang! This time, her wooden whip wasn't withered and managed to strike the red-haired man's sword. The sword left a cut in the whip but didn't sever it. As Long Chen said, as long as they condensed their wood energy, the blood domain's corrosive effect would be less effective. From beneath the earth, a wooden dragon charged out. Chu Yao also tried concentrating all her power on the wood dragon to attack the red-haired man. An arrow flew along with it, followed by a water dragon. Ziyen, Yijiqiu, Tang Wanner, Lu Ruyan, Nangong Zuyu, and Beitang Rushuang attacked at the same time, unleashing a plethora of attacks on the red-haired man. Ziyen continued to play her zither. Despite this clearly being a bloody battlefield, she drew people into a wonderland. Her music rang out perfectly with everyone's attacks. It was like she knew everyone's techniques, and the tempo was perfectly controlled. Sometimes it was slow, sometimes it was fast, and yet there wasn't the slightest bit of chaos or disorder. Chu Yao and the others' attacks combined with the music, resulting in their attacks coming out easily in their peak form. Their spiritual yuan and heavenly Dao energy were all flowing smoothly, allowing them to unleash their most taxing techniques with ease. The assistance of Ziyan's music raised everyone's combat power, letting them unleash special attacks that they might not have dared to use in battle. Chu Yao and the others were delighted by this, while the red-haired man felt like he was about to cough up blood. The zither music was an immortal song to Chu Yao and the others, but it was the song of a life-reaping devil to him. Every note affected his mind, weakening his power and making him unable to concentrate. He had even tried closing off his ears and other senses, but it was useless. The zither music reverberated through his soul. Most terrifying of all, he found that his own attacks were starting to match Ziyan's tempo, as if even his movements were under her control. He tried to throw her rhythm off with various attacks, but he was unable to escape her hold. Suddenly, a dagger appeared behind his back. The red-haired man reacted instantly, seemingly having been waiting for it. His sword smashed into the dagger, sending it flying. However, his expression completely changed as a white hand appeared in front of his throat. There was no body, just the hand. He hastily retreated, but the hand managed to claw his throat, leaving behind 5 bloody wounds. Those seemingly cute hands were very deadly. If he had been the slightest bit slower, that hand would have pierced his throat. It was naturally Dong Mingyu, but she was still hidden in the void, with no one able to find her. She slipped away, vanishing along with the dagger as if they had never appeared. The heavenly desolation extinction art really is terrifying. Long Chen was amazed. The technique that Lin Yuan had told her about was truly amazing. Dong Mingyu being able to freely move inside the red-haired man's domain was ridiculous. It seemed that he would also have to be careful in the future. He had the utmost confidence in his lightning and flame domains, but after seeing this, he felt that he would have to be more careful of his back. If he encountered a terrifying existence like Dong Mingyu, he wouldn't be able to sense them either. The red-haired man instantly healed all his injuries, but his expression was growing uglier. The pressure that Dong Mingyu gave him in particular was immense. Even within his own domain, he was unable to find her. He had to be constantly on guard against her while fighting everyone else. As his fury soared, the blood sun quivered, while the sacrificial altar and the spatial channel rumbled. It seemed that the blood sun was receiving some kind of energy from within the channel. Zither music, ice crystals, wind blades, wood and water dragons, all kinds of attacks filled the air. Despite it being a chaotic battle, it felt delightful to watch. They were all like goddesses. This would be a good scene. Fairies drive away the devil. Long Chen announced, "Little red-haired fellow, I feel like if you still don't kill yourself, it would be failing to appreciate our kindness." The red-haired man was at an absolute disadvantage against everyone's attacks, especially with the pressure of Dong Mingyu's divine assassination arts. Adding on Long Chen's taunt, his nose almost bent out of shape from rage. He cursed, "Shameless human race, all you know how to do is bully others with numbers. If you have the guts, come and fight me alone." "Me? Give up. Fighting you would be like beating a child to me. I'd feel bad bullying you like that. If I accidentally killed you with one slap, there would be nothing to play with. You should stop chattering and unleash your strongest trump card, or you won't have a chance once you're dead," said Long Chen disdainfully. "Boss, why not kill him? If you could do a soul search, we would know more of their secrets." "This fellow must be someone important," suggested Guoran. "Impossible. This fellow is just a split body. If he loses, he will just be called back by his true body, or he will choose to self-destruct. This clone's purpose is to test us and learn our secrets," said Long Chen. This red-haired man had exposed his intentions by trying to attack Long Chen despite his current predicament. Theoretically, if his goal was to show off, he should first kill a few people, but his target had been Long Chen the entire time. It was clear he was testing Long Chen so that he would have an advantage when his true body came. Just a split body is so powerful? Guoran sucked in a cold breath of air. Normally, a clone could at most possess 80% of the power of the true body. But this clone had come from a completely different space. In other words, it was a mere projection. Such a thing could only possess 50% of the power of the true body even in the best of cases. This isn't his full power. He has yet to reveal any of his true killing moves and is trying to test our abilities, said Long Chen. The furious appearance of this fellow was fake. No matter how he appeared, there was no way he was actually on the verge of going berserk. Long Chen had secretly told Chu Yao and the others not to reveal too much against him. If they just wanted to exhaust each other, that would be fine. This place was the Yin-Yang world, while this red-haired man had come from another world. His true body was definitely using up a huge amount of energy to fight like this. Boss really is a heroic divine general. You saw through all of this, said Guoran worshipfully. Long Chen ignored him. If Guoran put the same effort into battle as he did into showing off, he'd have long since noticed all this as well. The old man and the others had seen through the red-haired man's intentions and had thus called back their disciples. They analyzed the battle from the side, paying attention to the details. The red-haired man truly did possess astounding combat experience. Even surrounded by Chu Yao and the others, he managed to remain undefeated. His grasp of the fluctuations around him was perfect. This was an extremely rare chance for the elders to point out things for their disciples. In battles, being surrounded by attacks was the most dangerous situation, and now there was an excellent example to learn from. The old man used his own combat experience to point out things to the disciples, benefiting them immensely. Those who had come here were all elites, geniuses amongst geniuses. Their comprehension skills were extremely high, and just these pointers plus the red-haired man's display were enough to allow them to understand many things that could save them on the battlefield. Intolerable bullying. The red-haired man suddenly noticed that he was being used as teaching material and could no longer endure it. His red hair stood on end. His jagged sword made a full revolution in the air. The world that had been dyed red by his blood sun instantly returned to normal. All that blood chi and energy returned to his sword. The jagged sword, which had originally been translucent, became red as blood. Every jagged edge now seemed like the fang of a demonic beast. The blood-colored sword stabbed into the air in front of him. It wasn't aiming at anyone but the void. The void exploded and formed a giant vortex. The vortex rapidly spread. The laws of space had been shattered and were unable to restore themselves. As a result, Chu Yao and the others were instantly caught within the vortex. Even Dong Mingyu was exposed now with the void destroyed. Shockingly, the red-haired man had broken the walls of this world by sacrificing all the power of his domain. The Dragonblood Legion found that they had lost their connection to the outside Heavenly Tao energy. They had never encountered such a bizarre technique. Having lost their access to Heavenly Tao energy, it was like their wings had been clipped. Just as they were being sucked into the center of the vortex, lightning flashed. Within that twisting space, a figure appeared in front of the red-haired man, and a hand slapped him in the face. At the same time, a scolding voice rang out. "Do you know how to follow rules? Who permitted you to destroy the training grounds?" The red-haired man was sent flying into the distance, and his technique was interrupted. The vortex vanished, restoring Chu Yao and the others' freedom. Their manifestations appeared once more. Chu Yao and the others were pale. This red-haired man was actually able to separate them from Heavenly Tao energy. It was terrifying. Other than Long Chen, Yu Zifeng, Wild, and a few other exceptions, they were all Empyreans who used Heavenly Tao energy to unleash their greatest power. Losing the support of Heavenly Tao energy left them with only a tenth of their peak power. Even Chu Jianying, Li Tianxian, and the other members of the senior generation were shocked by that technique. They had never heard of such a terrifying ability even after so much time fighting the blood race. It was practically the bane of Empyreans. People looked back to the battlefield. Long Chen had interrupted him at that critical moment, making everyone sigh with relief. This terrifying move might be a nightmare to others, but it was useless against Long Chen. Having been slapped in the face again, the red-haired man looked like he was about to explode with rage. "You are Long Chen, correct? I'll make you beg for death. You're not the first to say such a thing to me, but I should warn you, the others who said that are all dead. I'm guessing that you'll be right behind them. My suggestion is for you to just kill yourself. It just so happens that I also have other things to do." Long Chen smiled indifferently. At the very least, they had managed to force out one trump card from this fellow. The sooner they learned about such a terrifying technique, the better equipped they would be when the time came. Otherwise, even the Dragon Blood Legion would be in danger of being annihilated if such a technique struck them. The red-haired man felt like he was going to go insane. He was a supreme existence within the blood race, with no one daring to defy him. But today, Long Chen had treated him not like a worthy opponent, but like someone so weak that his advice was that he should just kill himself to get it over with. Blood sacrifice to the heavens. Life returns to the netherworld, heavenly sacrifice grand art. The red-haired man's voice was hoarse with rage, but he still sheathed his sword on his back and formed hand seals. As a result, the blood sun split open. It was like the eye of a fiend now. A ray of light enveloped Long Chen as well as Chu Yao and the others who were behind him. Long Chen's heart shook. From that eye, he felt like he could see another world. At the end of that world was a throne. A god's throne. Long Chen was shocked. He had seen that kind of throne before. Although it was a bit different from Ming Tsongyue's throne, the aura was very similar. At the same time, he felt like someone was looking at him as well. His blood chi surged within him. He's forcibly sacrificing us. He wants to absorb our longevity, said Ziyan. She was still playing the 7-string C suppressing zither, unleashing waves of music that resisted the light. With her playing, the light did pause a bit, allowing Chu Yao and the others to escape. However, the red-haired man smiled sinisterly. If you want to leave, then leave behind half your longevity first. His hand's seal changed, and the eye of the blood sun grew larger, causing the light to shine even more intensely. Ziyan's fingers began to bleed as she resisted, but she was being forced back. Longevity? If you want it, then take it. I have as much as you want. Lu Ruyan suddenly summoned her true body. A towering willow tree protected Chu Yao and the others. Curiously, when the red light was blocked off, Chu Yao and the others instantly regained their freedom, escaping under the protection of the branches. The red-haired man's pupils shrank. His sacrifice had actually failed? He had never encountered such a thing. Longevity has no meaning to the undying race. This technique is useless against me, said Lu Ruyan coldly. The red light was trying to suck away her life energy, but she easily absorbed the energy of the yin-yang world to make up for it. Her longevity was the same as heaven and earth's. Lu Ruyan was about to pull Long Chen away as well, but he stopped her. I didn't think that I would one day become a sacrifice. I want to see who has the guts to accept such a sacrifice. Long Chen activated his 108,000 astral spaces and 6 stars, allowing the red light to meet them. A sacrifice naturally required an offering willing to be sacrificed, or an offering being subdued and undergoing various rites before being sacrificed. They had never heard of someone waving their hand to sacrifice a whole mass of people. As for stripping away their longevity, that was something that Long Chen wasn't afraid of either. He had the primal chaos bead. In the netherworld, he had subtly probed Ming Tsongyue about the primal chaos bead, but she had told him that it was a taboo object, something that even a god couldn't investigate. As a result, Long Chen had even greater confidence in it. If it was something that even a god couldn't touch, who would dare to touch it? Someone wished to sacrifice him? All right, then he would see who dared to accept the primal chaos bead as a sacrifice. Who had the ability to accept that offering? The red-haired man had originally been infuriated at Lu Ruyan's immunity, feeling like he was being countered in every regard, but then he saw Long Chen actually refuse her help and cooperate with the sacrifice. He didn't know what to feel about that. Stupid human race. He formed hand seals, causing all the light to condense on Long Chen. Long Chen's body turned the same color of blood. After that, Long Chen slowly walked over to the red-haired man, causing him to finally smile slightly. The sacrifice would start now. He coldly said, "For the great blood race, sacrifice your life dash." Before he could finish his ceremonial words, Long Chen slapped him in the face. The blood light exploded, revealing Long Chen's original appearance. He sneered, "What kind of sacrificial ceremony is this? I'm standing right here, but do you dare to take me?" The light that had invaded his body like worms seemed to have sensed something terrifying in his body and had fled. Long Chen had tried to trap them, but they had fled too quickly. He was disappointed to have failed to learn more about the secrets of the primal chaos bead. But when he found that he had walked over to the red-haired man under the influence of the bloodlight, he instinctively slapped him. The eye within the blood sun slowly closed. The sacrificial ceremony was over. What is going on? The red-haired man had never encountered such a strange thing. Just as he was dumbfounded and unable to understand what was happening, Long Chen appeared in front of him. He grabbed him and started slapping him repeatedly like trying to teach a lesson to a rogue. This is your sacrificial ceremony? This is your peerless technique? This is what you rely on to be so arrogant? Are you trying to scam me? Holding his neck, Long Chen didn't kill him but crazily slapped him instead. The red-haired man tried to escape Long Chen's devil claw to no avail. He reached for the sword on his back, but before it was half out, Long Chen slapped his hand away. You dare to raise your sword against me? You really have guts. Long Chen seemed surprised and infuriated by this action of unsheathing his sword, as if it was some kind of giant insult and provocation. After sending the sword flying, Long Chen suddenly released the red-haired man's neck. Grabbing his red hair, Long Chen pulled his head into his knee, smashing his nose. The sound of bones breaking rang out along with a shriek. The red-haired man's face caved in. A supreme expert of the blood race, one called the Sacred Sun, was actually beaten into such a state. People found it hard to believe. With all his power, the red-haired man pulled back, causing his hair to be ripped out along with his scalp. Didn't Long Chen say it was just a projection? How does it have a physical body of flesh and blood? Asked one disciple. If it didn't have the true body's blood and soul as part of it, it wouldn't even be considered a proper projection clone. Condensing such a clone that possesses the same senses and reactions as the true body comes at a certain price, explained Chu Jianing. This kind of projection clone was not just an image. The true body had to send its soul and essence blood into it as well. In other words, the clone's senses were linked to the true body's. That was why it had a body of flesh, why it was able to be controlled so easily by the true body, and why the sensations of this beating were being transmitted straight to the true body. Long Chen continued to punch, kick, knee, and elbow him, beating him up to the point that he was no longer in human form. Having lost his blood-light domain, the red-haired man was unable to escape Long Chen's attacks. Long Chen also didn't give him a chance to summon his domain again. He was unable to counterattack at all. This sight made people look at each other with odd expressions. Was this really the same peerless expert that had forced even heavenly geniuses like Chu Yao and the others into desperate straits? Ah, he's not skilled in close-range combat, said Nangong Zuyu suddenly, causing everyone to understand. This made them realize why he had summoned his blood-light domain. It was because that domain covered up his lack of skill. Within that domain, he had been able to freely teleport, allowing him to maintain a safe distance from everyone. It was only his fury that had resulted in him condensing all the power of his blood-light domain to kill everyone in one blow. Perhaps it was because he had found that everyone's attacks were also long-range so that they couldn't threaten him, or perhaps his decision had simply been clouded with anger. Either way, this weakness was now fully exposed to Long Chen. The fear that everyone had felt toward this terrifying expert diminished. He had been someone capable of stripping heavenly Tao energy from them, but seeing Long Chen beating him so easily, they also felt the slightest shred of sympathy. Long Chen hadn't even summoned his divine ring or battle armor. He hadn't even used half his power. As for trying to create distance between them now, was the red-haired man really capable of such a thing in this state? Just how much battle experience had Long Chen accumulated through the years? To use Long Chen's words, when he wasn't fighting, he was always on the way to another fight. With that combat experience, would Long Chen let him escape after catching him? He didn't even have a chance to activate his blood sun. Long Chen unleashed a tempest of attacks. He didn't go lightly, but he didn't go too hard either. He was simply beating him up. Who let you be so arrogant? Do you want to shout a bit louder? Didn't you say that your daddy was amazing? Call him out then? The red-haired man roared. When did I ever bring up my dad? You dare to talk back? I'll let you talk back. I'll let you talk back. Long Chen increased his beating. More of the red-haired man's scalp came flying off as Long Chen tore off more of it, leaving him hairless. Despite knowing that they shouldn't laugh, Chu Yao and the others couldn't help it. The stark contrast between when he had arrived and now was just too great. A generation's genius was turned into this state by Long Chen. Threaded? No, the bald man from the blood race felt like he would explode. He tried multiple things, but Long Chen wasn't giving him a chance to connect to his blood domain or use his sword. As long as he could pull out his sword, he would have a chance to unleash his power and summon his blood-like domain. But Long Chen didn't give him that chance. He suddenly let out a heart-rending roar containing endless resentment. Long Chen, just wait. All of you, when my true body descends, I'll make you experience just how luxurious death is. He exploded, detonating himself. Long Chen was blown back. Blood runes surged toward the blood sun from his body. Long Chen reached out to grab them, but the explosion had blown him back too far. They entered the blood sun, which flew into the spatial channel and vanished without a trace. Bastard! A furious roar shook another world. The red-haired man stood in the sky, his face twisted with fury. Beneath him were countless experts of the blood race, quivering as they knelt. Even the fourth step nether passage experts were too terrified to even look at him. Long Chen, you idiot, my projection clone only had 30% of my power. When my true body comes, I'll teach you what despair is. I'll show you the power of a merged spirit blood and spirit bone. The red-haired man unleashed a wave of power in every direction, shattering mountains and causing the experts below to hack up blood. But they still didn't dare to make a sound. Back within the yin-yang world, the blood sun was gone. The battlefield was filled with corpses, mostly of the blood race. The martial heaven continent's side had suffered very few losses. After all, the Dragon Blood Legion had taken the core of the battlefield, with the Martial Heaven Alliance, the Nangong family, and the Beitang family only cutting through. With this strategy, they had only lost fewer than 100 people in this battle. It could be considered an absolute victory. With the red-haired man having detonated himself, the battle was over. Everyone looked at Long Chen. The next step would be cleaning up the battlefield, but they would need to listen to Long Chen for this. After all, the battlefield was a fat pie to be carved up now. They didn't want to start a fight over such a thing. Such strife had occurred quite a few times on historical battlefields. There were even some records of an alliance breaking up and starting a fight right after a battle was over because of differing opinions on how the cleanup should be handled. Ling Shan, send people to clean up the battlefield. Have all the treasures split evenly amongst the 5 powers, said Long Chen. It was more convenient for the Martial Heaven Alliance to do this work as they had more people. Of course, the work would have to go to the most trustworthy disciples who wouldn't get greedy. As for the 5 powers, they were the Dragon Blood Legion, the Martial Heaven Alliance, the Nangong family, the Beitang family, and the elusive Music Immortal Palace. Ziyan immediately shook her head. The elusive Music Immortal Palace only sent me. Just being able to see the blood race's sacred sons techniques was enough to benefit me. The elusive Music Immortal Palace doesn't want a share of this battlefield. Long Chen said, Fairy Ziyan, the elusive Music Immortal Palace raised you and can't be made to have sent you for nothing. Giving them a share is my duty. Looking at Long Chen's bright smile, Ziyan also smiled. Then I'll thicken my face and accept. It was true that even if she didn't care about profit, it could still be helpful to her sect. After all, the development of a sect cost money. Boss, we have too much essence blood this time. Xia Chen secretly sent a message to Long Chen. Long Chen nodded. From the start of the battle, he had said that everyone could gather the essence blood as they fought. Just based on Yi Lingshan, Nangong Zuyu, and Beitang Rushuang's smiles, it was clear that they had gained an immense amount. After all, they had killed the entire army of blood race that had been stationed within the yin-yang world. They had been elites with extremely pure essence blood, giving a greater amount of immemorial essence blood. Good. Then any excess can be given to our allies, responded Long Chen. Tens of thousands of people moved along the battlefield, their progress not very fast. After all, this battlefield was extremely large, and it had been badly torn apart. Many fragments of divine items and such were buried beneath the ground. Those fragments could be reforged when they returned. They were all good things. Other than that though, there were also the corpses of the martial heaven continent's experts. They had to be buried at home. Long Chen, having killed so many experts of the blood race, they might go crazy. They will very likely launch a sneak attack on the martial heaven continent, said Chu Jianing. So what? It doesn't have anything to do with us. Last time, the blood race's sneak attack was essentially a slap in the face to the divine families. Now I've essentially helped the divine families win back some face. If the divine families aren't even able to handle a counterattack from the blood race, then what right do they have to say that they will lead everyone in the battle against the Dark Era? Long Chen wasn't the slightest bit worried about such a thing. The divine family's foundation was definitely not just what they had revealed so far. Boss, should we just occupy the Yin-Yang world and charge our way into the blood race's headquarters? Seeing how successful they had been this time, Guoran started to get crazy. Long Chen glared at him. Did you take a blow to the head? The reason we are able to fight the blood race in the Yin-Yang world is because of the connection between the martial heaven continent and the Yin-Yang world. The martial heaven continent's laws are still present in the Yin-Yang world, so all you Empyreans are able to use the heavenly Tao energy. But if you go to another world, how do you know that that world's heavenly Tao energy will still support you? Did you not see that the red-haired fellow required using the blood sun to infect this world first in order to use his power? Without it, he was just a dog I could beat. Do you want to end up like him? Oh, is that the case? Then never mind. I don't want to be beaten like that, and someone as scared of dying as me wouldn't even have the courage to kill myself. I'd be toyed with until I died. That really is a frightening thought. Without heavenly Tao energy, Guoran suddenly shuddered. The runes on his armor were now capable of absorbing heavenly Tao energy. Without that support, his spiritual yuan would quickly run out. The Yin-Yang world is a place where two worlds' laws intersect. Both sides can use their power here. But it's clear that the laws of the martial heaven continent are stronger, so we actually have an advantage. But if we leap worlds again, then it will be a completely different case. Chu Jianing nodded. The other seniors nodded as well. This place was their home territory. Going into other people's territories would suppress them. Then we have to face their attacks, but we can't attack back? Demanded Guoran irritably. You can't put it that way. There are people like Long Chen, Yu Zifeng, and Wild who are capable of fighting without heavenly Tao energy, said Chu Yao. That's true. But Long Chen, don't be careless. Even if you aren't affected, fighting in unfamiliar territory is still dangerous, warned Chu Jianing. She truly understood Long Chen well and didn't want him charging into the blood race's headquarters. Hee, don't worry, without absolute assurance, I won't do something random like that, promised Long Chen. Suddenly, the Yin-Yang world trembled. In the great distance, there were 6 locations emitting terrifying fluctuations. Xiachen checked his formation disk. Boss, those 6 spots are connections to other worlds. The blood race is most likely sending reinforcements. Are we going to keep fighting? There were a total of 7 light spots on his formation disk. The place they were at was the largest light. Those lights indicated spatial channels. The spatial channel in front of them was the largest one, but it had not yet fully formed. The other 6 light spots were other channels in the Yin-Yang world, and they were a great distance from here. This place was the Yang side of the Yin-Yang world, while those channels were on the Yin side. There were different laws there, so they couldn't enter. No. The blood race knows what happened here, and so they must be confident if they're sending more people. We've already won enough. Leaving after getting enough is the right path, said Long Chen. This had been a sneak attack from the start. Now that the blood race was prepared, there was no point in forcing it. Even if they could win again, they would have to pay a bitter price. With the cleanup essentially done, Long Chen gathered everyone up. Xiachen quickly set up a formation that could transport all of them back to the entrance. It was a one-time use formation, and moving so many people was definitely expensive, but Long Chen had plenty of wealth now and didn't care about it. All of them were enveloped by the formation once it was complete. However, they didn't immediately leave. Instead, they watched as a dark wave appeared on the horizon. 6 armies of the blood race were rushing over. Damn, there are so many? Despite being prepared for such a sight, Guaran and the others still jumped. At first, they had thought that the black wave was the result of their auras bursting out of them, but then they found that they were all people. They were endless. Their numbers blocked out the front, making them unable to see just how deep their army went. No wonder it took them so long to arrive. Sending so many people through the wall between worlds requires a huge amount of energy, said Long Chen. Xia Chen nodded. That's most likely the case. Sending too many people through the walls between worlds can cause spatial chaos. They must have paid quite the price to send so many of them through. As the blood race's army got closer, they gradually managed to sense several terrifying auras at the front. Long Chen announced, "All right, let's wave goodbye. We're leaving." Guaran and the others enthusiastically waved toward the oncoming army of the blood race. Xia Chen's formation activated, and they all vanished. Long Chen didn't know how the reinforcements of the blood race would feel when they saw the destruction of the battlefield. But he didn't care anyway. Having obtained their essence blood, they had benefited immensely. As for the blood race's reinforcements, whether or not they would attack the martial heaven continent immediately due to their rage would be a matter for the divine families. Last time, the blood race had slapped the divine families in the face. Now, Long Chen had returned the slap, and this could be considered a win for the divine families. If the blood race once more managed to break through to the continent, that would be another slap to the divine families' faces. Long Chen believed that as long as the divine families weren't idiots, they wouldn't give the blood race that chance. When Long Chen and the others reappeared, they found that they weren't far from the exit. However, after walking out a bit, Xia Chen snorted. "Boss, there's someone watching us from afar." Xia Chen had sensed a spying formation present. Although it was well hidden, it wasn't able to hide from him. That's normal. The divine families must retain full control of the big picture. They must be able to keep watch over the blood race's movements as well as ours, said Long Chen. This formation had to have been set up just after they had entered. After the last invasion, the divine families had not just strengthened their defenses but also set up many more formations to keep an eye on the blood race. This new formation had been set up to get a better perspective on their battle just now. Long Chen didn't care about it. If he were the divine families, he would have done the same. The divine families had an easy excuse for this. "That's why you refused to join the fight?" asked Tang Wana, seeming to understand something. Long Chen laughed. "It was just to avoid exposing my trump cards. That's not just for the divine families but also that little red-haired fellow. When his true body comes, I don't want to get beaten by him." Although that was what he said, inside, he truly was wary of the divine families. After all, he was still unclear about their forces. They were not worthy of his trust. After walking out of the exit, the 7th Commander Yan Fei and the short fatty were still standing outside. But it was different from when Long Chen and the others had entered. There were now mountain-sized crossbows pointed at them, their strings already knocked with giant arrows. 10,000 of them were lined up, giving off an intense murderous aura. Behind them were war chariots floating in the air. They had cannons on them, also ready to shoot. Even Long Chen felt his heart sinking after seeing such an array pointed at him. If those were all activated, they would definitely be annihilated. Haha, congratulations, Brother Long Chen, on your unrivaled heroism. You've annihilated countless experts of the blood race in one move. You've truly won a great victory for the martial heaven continent. The short fatty immediately walked over and cupped his fists in congratulations. He had seen everything that had transpired. Since this fatty was on the same side as Elder Long, Long Chen also cupped his fists. It was just luck. Long Chen glanced at Yan Fei, who was to the side. Yan Fei's face was gloomy, and he didn't dare to look at him, as if afraid of him. It was unknown if it was because of his previous beating or because of the battle. He had seen Chu Yao, Lu Rian, Tang Wana, Yu Zhiqiu, Dong Mingyu, Yu Zifeng, and the others fighting. If Long Chen wanted his life, he wouldn't even have to do it personally. Chu Yao and the others could easily join forces to slay him. Then there was also the rest of the Dragon Blood Legion. Of course, most importantly, there was Long Chen himself. His viciousness and ruthlessness meant that when he was angered, he might do anything regardless of the consequences. Since he didn't want to die, he naturally didn't provoke Long Chen. Since Yan Fei was no longer being arrogant, Long Chen didn't bother with him. Yan Fei was just a dog of the Yi family, someone of so little importance that killing him was insignificant. The Blood Race's army is coming from all directions. I may have to trouble you, said Long Chen. The fatty smiled confidently. Don't worry. We're prepared. If they dare to come, as long as they're in the Nether Passage realm, we'll slaughter them all. For him to say this, it meant that even peak 4th step Nether Passage experts would be annihilated by them. It seemed that the Divine Family's trump cards didn't just stop at those crossbows and chariots, or he wouldn't have claimed such a thing. That was to be expected. Without that kind of confidence, the Divine Families wouldn't be able to lead the upcoming battles. You just finished a large battle, so you should rest. Leave this place to us. Other than that, when you have time, you should go see Elder Long. The short fatty added his last line spiritually so only Long Chen could hear. Long Chen nodded. I'll definitely go see him later. And you know, after talking to you so much, I still don't even know your family name. That's rude of me. Me? You can just call me Fatty Zhang. As for my name, it sounds worse than Fatty Zhang. Normally, others called him the 6th Commander or perhaps Commander Zhang. But those familiar with him, and some of the elders, called him Fatty. In truth, he wasn't particularly fat. He was a far cry from Tu Qinsheng. But due to how short he was, he appeared fatter. More accurately, he was very well built, or he wouldn't be able to use that giant axe as his weapon. Alright, then Brother Zhang, I'll be leaving now. I'm also busy tonight, so let's find another time to have a good drink, said Long Chen. He didn't feel that this Fatty Zhang was a bad person. He was quite direct and refreshing actually. Long Chen liked being friends with such people. After that, a path opened between the crossbows and chariots, allowing Long Chen and the others to leave. Once they left, they didn't go to the Martial Heaven Alliance's headquarters but the territory of the Xian beasts. When they arrived at the new territory of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race, the coronation was about to end. They barely managed to be there for the finale. We arrived just in time. We can eat right now. Long Chen brought everyone over, and Kei Yuzhu personally came to greet them. The various Xian beasts relaxed upon seeing them arrive. Without them being present, the Xian beasts had felt uneasy, thinking that Long Chen didn't like this turn of events. Moreover, there was shock on their faces. The murderous aura around Long Chen and the others was still extremely strong. They had clearly just undergone a bloody battle. Although they had changed clothes and wiped away the blood, their bloody battle against the blood race would leave a murderous aura on them for several days. It was only after they arrived that the news of what had happened reached the Xian beasts. They all jumped in shock, staring in disbelief. Long Chen had led the experts of the Dragon Blood Legion, the Martial Heaven Alliance, the Nangong family, the Beiteng family, and the elusive Music Immortal Palace into the Yin-Yang world. They had just wiped out the entire army of the blood race stationed there. Part of that news came from the Divine Families, while another part came from the Martial Heaven Alliance. After all, this victory needed to be reported to the various sections. As a result, this information spread throughout the entire continent. The people attending the coronation felt like they were dreaming. The coronation hadn't even been that long. But Long Chen had wiped out the Yin-Yang world's blood race during this time. That was simply monstrous. It's too bad that I couldn't go, grumbled Cloud. Although Kei Yuzhu was the leader of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race and was now crowned empress, everyone knew it was temporary. That position would belong to Cloud. Cloud was the true hope of the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race. As for Meng Qi, she could not be called her master, but the two of them were inextricably linked. Meng Qi also had the myriad spirit diagram, and she was respected immensely amongst the Xian beasts. Cloud had wanted to go since she had the warlike blood of the Xian beasts flowing in her veins. Seeing that she wasn't happy, Dong Mingyu went over to tell her that the battle hadn't been too big. The channels to the other worlds had only been opened at the very end, and the true battle was still yet to come. Only then did she cheer up. Dong Mingyu and Cloud both looked like 14 or 15-year-old girls, filled with vitality and naivety. Hence, the two of them were particularly close. The only one closer to Cloud was Meng Qi. The feast to celebrate the coronation was tasteless as too many people were mixed in amongst the attendees. There were people from the Corrupt Path, Pill Valley, and the Ancient Family Alliance. Even if ambassadors were protected, they were still enemies. Hence, Long Chen ignored them. He wasn't in a position to do anything to them, and this was the territory of the Xian beasts. Although the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race had absolute trust in Long Chen, some races amongst the Xian beasts didn't feel the same way. As Long Chen didn't want to cause difficulties here, he could only eat with everyone peacefully. After the feast, the coronation was officially over and the various attendees left. When Ziyan rose to leave, Meng Qi pushed Long Chen. "Big Sister Ziyan, are you leaving? Let Long Chen send you off." Ziyan's face reddened slightly and she waved her hand. "No need, no need. Long Chen rose from his seat. "Fairy Ziyan, no need to be courteous. It just so happens that I have a few words I wish to say to you." Since he had gotten up, it wasn't convenient for Ziyan to continue declining. She waved goodbye to everyone else and walked away with Long Chen. Once they were gone, Tang Wana finally said, "No need to be courteous, it just so happens that I have a few words I wish to say to you." I really look down on him. Tang Wana's mocking made Meng Qi and the others laugh. Meng Qi asked, "What, are you jealous?" Tang Wana curled her lips. "What is there to be jealous about? That bad scoundrel even needed you to remind him. It seems his skills have declined." "Really, you're not jealous?" teased Chu Yao. "Really? Big sisters, trust me. I also like Big Sister Ziyan. Of course, I also like Big Sister Rushuang and Big Sister Ziwa." Stop, this matter has nothing to do with me," exclaimed baiting Rushuang. "Although Long Chen's decent, I won't be sharing a man." She had heard the suggestion in Tang Wanner's words. She didn't want any such misunderstanding between them. Although she did like Long Chen, she had her own pride. On her path to the top, she didn't even know how many heavenly geniuses had prostrated themselves before her. However, she had not seen one she favored, and she would not be sharing the one that she liked. She was clear on her own character. If she didn't find a suitable person, she was fine continuing to be alone. I am the same. The reason I helped Long Chen is partly because I like his loyalty and heroism, but I am only willing to listen to his orders because the sovereign favors him. The sovereigns will always be my greatest belief. The sovereigns have an even higher position in my heart than gods. For a sovereign to call him brother, I am willing to protect him with my life, but it has nothing to do with romance," added Nangong Zuyu. Then that's too bad," said Tang Wan. Seeing her disappointment, Beideng Rushuang curiously asked, "Why would you want us to end up together? Aren't you worried about Long Chen being pulled away by someone else? If you want him, then take him. If you join us, we'll get stronger. Long Chen, he has a lot on his shoulders. I wish for more people to share his burden," said Tang Wana, getting emotional toward the end. A person's character wasn't so easy to change. She remained someone of a jealous nature. But for Long Chen, she was willing to suffer. Seeing her sincerity, Beiteng Rushuang was moved. She held Tang Wanner's hand. For Long Chen to have someone like you is definitely thanks to the fortune that he had accumulated for 8 lifetimes. You all treat him better than he deserves. Nangong Zuyu nodded as well. Women understood women the best. They were able to understand Tang Wanner's heart the most, and it was that understanding that made them feel especially moved. The few of them were sitting behind a sound screen with Meng Qi, Chu Yao, Tang Wan, Yi Zhiqiu, Lu Ruyan, Dong Mingyu, and Cloud. On the outside, the Dragon Blood Legion was eating happily without knowing what was happening on their side. Tang Wanner began to tear up. The real fortune was for us to meet Long Chen in our lives. It is because of Long Chen that us sisters can be together. I am really happy. But Long Chen is different. He has many secrets in his heart that he has never shared because he doesn't want to burden us. He has a great deal of pain inside, but he doesn't show it, only suffering in silence. In our hearts, he is the only one. However, his heart doesn't just have us, but all those brothers out there who are willing to follow him to the death. He is a fool who is willing to risk his life for any one of us and any one of them. Others see him as a peerless hero or a vicious fiend. He is admired and feared. But he also has times of fear and indecisiveness. He is afraid of losing us, so he doesn't dare to stop his footsteps. He is constantly pushing himself onward. Although he is tired, we don't know how to help him with that burden. So when Long Chen participated in the Dongfang family's gathering of past and present heroes, I told him to do as he pleased. At that time, Tang Wan'er had told Long Chen not to have any misgivings about her, even encouraging him to do what he wanted to. Hearing that, Beitang Rushuang and Nangong Ziyu exchanged glances. Beitang Rushuang sighed, "You feel so deeply toward Long Chen, but Long Chen feels the same way toward you." "HM? What are you talking about?" asked Tang Wan'er, not understanding. "I was wondering why Long Chen seemed like he had a mental problem when he encountered me for the first time," said Beitang Rushuang with a smile. She explained their first interactions. At that time, upon encountering Nangong Ziyu and Beitang Rushuang, he had meticulously maintained a certain distance, especially toward Beitang Rushuang. In particular, his repeated warning that he wouldn't give her his heart over and over again had been used perfectly, almost driving her insane with rage. Now that she thought back to it, she realized why he had been acting like that. He hadn't wanted to draw anyone else's attention, so he purposely gave them a bad first impression. In that gathering, he was essentially the weakest. Nangong Ziyu and Beitang Rushuang were peerless geniuses who had suppressed their entire eras. All the ancient heavenly geniuses had come out. In his most helpless time, when even Tang Wan'er would rather suffer for Long Chen to pull in some reliable supporters, his pride had been provoked. Since when did he need to rely on seducing women to survive? That was why he didn't bother giving them a good impression when he first encountered them. It was the opposite. He was as crude as a rogue, and it had worked so well that Beitang Rushuang had almost lost control and shot him full of holes several times. Hearing Beitang Rushuang's explanation, Tang Wan'er was both happy and sad. She knew that her character wasn't too likable, which was why she was particularly afraid that Long Chen would stop loving her, creating a negative cycle. She hadn't thought that after she had given him her permission, he would intentionally pull away from peerless heavenly geniuses like Beitang Rushuang and Nangong Ziyu. "Big sister Beiting, big sister Ziyu, why not be with us? Why do we have to separate?" asked Cloud. Meng Qi and the others smiled at her innocence. Although Cloud looked the same as Dong Mingyu, she was still a child and didn't understand these things. "Who said that we would separate? We'll definitely be together often, especially against the Dark Era. No one knows if we'll even survive, as a sovereign candidate has yet to appear. Hence, talking about romance isn't for me. I am the heir of the Beitang family. I, Beitang Rushuang, am going to make some big moves to make sure future generations remember me forever." Beitang Rushuang stood and patted her bow. "Sisters, there's not much time left. We just saw another kind of realm from that red-haired man, so I'm going into seclusion. With my comprehension from this battle, I believe I will quickly reach the second step of Nether Passage. You all have to work hard too." After saying that, Beitang Rushuang hugged the crying Tang Wan'er. "Little sister, don't cry. Work hard on your cultivation. Within this chaotic world, power is everything. If you want to love someone, the most important thing isn't for him to know, but for him to live." "Yes, I'll definitely work hard." Tang Wan'er wiped away her tears and nodded cutely. Nangong Ziyu also rose from her seat and said goodbye. The others hastily got up to send them off. Above a beautiful mountain range covered by an ancient forest, two figures slowly walked through the air. "Actually, you don't need to send me off. You're very busy." When Ziyan looked at Long Chen, there was a faint redness on her cheeks that might just be their natural color. The Ziyan today seemed particularly bashful and was especially enchanting. Long Chen smiled. "That's precisely why I am sending you off. I feel very relaxed with you. This way, I can forget all my vexations." Ziyan's blush deepened. She didn't quite dare to look into Long Chen's eyes. There was a hint of delight in her eyes but also unease. "Do you remember when we first met?" asked Long Chen suddenly. Ziyan looked into the distance as if seeing through the years gone by. She covered up a smile. "Of course I remember. You're definitely the person with the worst etiquette I've ever seen. I still remember how particularly amazing your answers to what the Tao, the Humane Tao, and the King Tao were." "Hee, at that time I was just spouting nonsense," said Long Chen. Seeing his embarrassment, Ziyan couldn't help laughing. Long Chen also had moments when he was cute. Ziyan. Seeing her smile, Long Chen's heart moved. He clutched her hand, causing her to stiffen. She looked at him nervously. "Long Chen." Ziyan trembled. In her whole life, she had never been this close to a man. She was nervous and lost. Seeing her panic, Long Chen softly said, "Ziyan, there are many things that I want to say to you, but I've never had a chance. You are meticulously maintaining some kind of distance toward me, so I don't know how to face you. When we were enemies, you got in my way several times. To tell the truth, it really hurt me." "Sorry," Ziyan lowered her head. Due to their different philosophies being so contrary, they had not been friends. During the dragon slaughtering convention, she had fought against him. At that time, he had also said some heartless words. Those words had filled her with pain, but she also knew that she wasn't the only one in pain. Long Chen's grip tightened on her hand. "I'm very curious why I didn't know myself. When we were enemies, my heart was in constant pain. When you said that you would no longer be my enemy, a stone fell from my heart. I felt the world brighten and become colorful. At that time, I realized that I had fallen for you a long time ago. But I was always afraid that you would be my enemy, and even more frightening was the thought that I might one day have to kill you. Ziyan, how about you stay with me? I will use my life to protect you. If you're by my side, I can face the dangers of the world without fear." This declaration of love wasn't particularly flowery, but every word was true from his heart. His feelings toward Ziyan had silently appeared without him even being aware of it. Now that they had no conflict, he could say these words that he had been holding back. He instantly felt lighter. Ziyan's eyes grew misty. She slowly leaned her head against Long Chen's chest. "Thank you. I'm so happy that you would say such a thing. But what? You don't like me?" Long Chen's heart suddenly sank. Ziyan shook her head. "Sorry. I am unable to live up to your feelings. I already swore in front of my ancestor's statue that my life would belong only to the elusive music immortal palace. I cannot marry." Ziyan's tears suddenly overflowed. The endless grief in her heart could never be put to words. "Thank you, Long Chen." Ziyan pulled away and instantly vanished from Long Chen's sight. He was pale. He wanted to follow her, but just as he raised a foot, he put it back down. He stood there like a statue for a long time. Ziyan flew away a great distance. When she saw a large waterfall ahead, she threw herself inside it, finding a cave for her to weep within. She held on tightly to a stalagmite as she cried. She cried as if unleashing all her grievance. Behind her, a beautiful woman in golden imperial robes appeared. This woman looked to be in her late 20s. Her hair was tied up in a high bun, and she looked like an empress. She sighed at Ziyan, but her voice was warm. "Foolish child, even when crying, you don't dare to cry loudly. Aren't you using the waterfall to cover up the sound?" Senior 7-string Ziyan seemed like a wrong child, and she threw herself into her embrace like she was family. The woman gently brushed her hair. "Child, I told you not to agree with those people, but you refused to listen. But I had no choice. As long as I didn't have to be Long Chen's enemy, I was willing to accept any condition. Are you going to allow this promise to lock you up for a lifetime? Is that worth it?" The woman shook her head. "Everything I have was given to me by the elusive music immortal palace. The person needs to know how to repay kindness. This was the only way for me to stop being enemies with Long Chen and not betray the elusive music immortal palace." Ziyan closed her eyes, bitterly saying, I thought I was the only one. I thought it was just wishful thinking. But today, he confessed his love for me. How can I be happy and hurt at the same time? Your nature is too kind. You won't betray others, but what if others betray you? The woman shook her head with a bitter smile. Longchen? I haven't given him anything, so how could he betray me? Ziyan shook her head at the implication. Longchen is the same as you. He won't betray anyone. I was talking about, well, never mind. Longchen is your devil star. They didn't lie to you about that. But there is one aspect that they explained wrongly. The woman's smile turned cold. Senior, what are you talking about? You don't understand because the time hasn't come yet. Child, don't cry. Your future is not as dark as you imagine. There are still many changes to come, comforted the woman. Really? Of course. Let's go. When you get back, go into seclusion. This immemorial essence blood can make up for your lack of bloodlust. With it, you can fully awaken your manifestation. If you still don't reach that level, you'll be thrown behind by that girl called Yijiqiu. Senior, I'm curious, why do you want me to get closer to Yijiqiu? I can sense something familiar about her, said Ziyan suddenly. The mysteries of the heavens cannot be leaked. You'll know in the future, so you don't need to ask. I cannot see your exact future, but I know that although it's not very good, it's also not terrible. After saying that, the woman and Ziyan vanished together. Longchen returned, still a bit dismayed. When Meng Qi and the others saw him, they rushed over. Longchen, what happened? Asked Tangwan. My pickup skills failed, sighed Longchen. How could that be? Meng Qi and the others couldn't believe it. They had all seen the tenderness in Ziyan's eyes when she looked at Longchen. Although Ziyan acted quiet and content, she was unable to hide her feelings from them. Meng Qi had nudged Longchen to send Ziyan off to give them a chance to talk alone. Unexpectedly, Ziyan had refused him. Does Ziyan have her own secret troubles? Even a blind person can see her feelings toward you, wondered Tangwan. Longchen nodded. That's the most likely case. Ziyan said that according to the elusive music immortal palace's calculations, I am her devil star. That's absolute nonsense. Her sect definitely used it to force Ziyan into an oath binding her to them. To not be my enemy, she compromised with them. That damn elusive music immortal palace, are they forcing me to tear them down? The elusive music immortal palace is said to be a protector of the Martial Heaven Alliance, but they're so despicable, cursed Tangwan. At first, Longchen and Ziyan had always fought whenever they encountered each other. Their philosophies were complete opposites. What had made Ziyan's attitude change was the 7-string C suppressing zither. It had sealed her power and changed her appearance, allowing her to see another point of view within the yin-yang world. That had allowed Ziyan to see the ugliness that she had never seen before. For the first time, she saw the world that Longchen saw. Most ironic of all, when she had been in danger, the only one to help her was Longchen. After that, Ziyan learned how to see things from many different viewpoints. She had become steadier, and her feelings toward Longchen had grown. When she thought of how she had fought against him and repeatedly tried to advise him, bringing him so much trouble, she was ashamed of herself. After that, she did her best to make up for it. Of course, she had never mentioned those things to anyone. Longchen had no idea that the ugly girl he had randomly saved back then was her. However, he did know that those tears she had shed just now meant that he was in her heart. It was just that she was unable to accept his feelings. So his anger fell on the elusive music immortal palace. Why don't we just charge over to the elusive music immortal palace and demand them to hand her over? Said Cloud, clenching her fists. With our current power, we don't need to be afraid of them. Meng Qi shook her head, calming her down. Ziyan was raised by the elusive music immortal palace. She cares deeply about that, so she won't betray her sect. If we try to force it, it would be unjust to Ziyan. She must have her own troubles, so let's take this slowly. There will definitely be a chance in the future. Longchen nodded along. Let's put this matter aside for now. Meng Qi is right. There's no point in rushing this. There will definitely come a solution, but the right time hasn't come yet. We should be focusing on increasing our power right now. We have the immemorial essence blood, so you can all fully activate your manifestations with your spirit blood. As our enemies gather their power, we have to raise our own strength so that we have a great chance of surviving the battles to come. Everyone went into seclusion. Meng-Chi and the others had to absorb a great deal of the immemorial essence blood in order to fully activate their manifestations. The Dragon Blood warriors were also doing the same. Only Guoran and Xiachen remained outside, working on refining the essence blood of the immemorial essence blood. As for Long Chen, he went to a desolate area of the Xian Beast territory. He took out the demonic furnace. It was time for him to increase his own power as well. We're finally refining pills? Suddenly, an ancient voice rang out in Long Chen's head. Who are you? Long Chen was taken aback. I'm Ling-er. Sorry, I usually like using this voice. Ling-er appeared in front of him, giggling. She had clearly been waiting for Long Chen to refine pills. Long Chen recalled that this girl had used a strange ancient voice the first time she had talked to him as well. She had even told him not to be too greedy. Hey, what are you staring at me for? I've memorized the voice, appearance, and techniques of every one of my masters. You also saw that I've had thousands of masters. I can use whatever voice I want, explained Ling. Was that blood race expert also your master? Asked Long Chen. If so, he might be able to learn more about them. The girl disdainfully said, Him? How could he be qualified to be my master? He didn't dare to. After obtaining me, he didn't have the guts to make a contract with me. As for me, I looked down on him way too much to try and seduce him. If he gave me his essence blood, I didn't mind giving him a few demonic flames. But just 2 days after obtaining me and coming to that accord, he died. Long Chen smiled. It seems that you're very picky toward your masters. Ling-er puffed up her chest. Of course. After all, I am the spirit of the demon moon furnace. I have my own pride. Even if I can control someone and benefit myself, not everyone is qualified for that. Demonic weapons were particularly vicious. If their master wasn't strong enough, they would be controlled. When they died, all their power would be absorbed by the demonic weapon. However, people's greed could not be controlled, so when such a weapon appeared before their eyes, despite knowing that their lives would be devoured, they were like moths to the flame. Then why not form a contract with me? When I die, everything I have will be yours, asked Long Chen. You can't trick me. Demonic weapons such as myself are all very sensitive to how tough a potential master is. There's no way I can control you. If I form a contract with you, I will never be free, said the girl vigilantly. Long Chen nodded. What she sensed was most likely related to the 9-star hegemon body art. Alright, then Ling, have you had masters who could refine pills before? Asked Long Chen. I have, but only 3. Talking is so troublesome. I'll show you. She waved her hand, revealing a scene in the air. When Long Chen saw that, he was startled. There was a strange entity with golden fur covering their entire body. They looked similar to a human, but they were covered in fur, making them seem more like an ape. Flame runes were flowing across their fur, with a surging flame within their hands. They were refining pills with the demon moon furnace, and their alchemy technique was bizarre, something that Long Chen had never seen before. This is the first master I encountered who could refine pills. He was very powerful. He died a year after obtaining me. I was very grateful to him because in his hands, I achieved sentience, said Ling. The scene changed. Now it was an underground room with a large scorpion. The demon moon furnace was on its back, and the flames were gushing out of the scorpion's tail. Magical beasts can refine pills? Long Chen's jaw dropped. No, the scorpion is just a house pet, while the alchemist was inside its body. He was using the scorpion's toxic flames to refine a poison pill. He was also very powerful and vicious. A sect raised him, but he betrayed his sect, bringing people to wipe it out. As a result, he encountered me. 2 months later, he tried refining pills with me for the first time. The poison ended up invading his soul, and he suffered for 49 days before dying. This fellow's alchemy arts were also quite strong, but before he could refine many pills with me he died, said Ling-er somewhat irritably. The image changed again. There was a human this time using the demon moon furnace to refine pills. As a result, he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood and exploded. A heart devil invasion, said Long Chen. Yes. I even warned him not to refine such a powerful pill when his technique was so shoddy, but he was too greedy. When the pill formed, the pill devil drew out his heart devil and he died, said Ling-er, once more irritated at the disappointing quality of her past masters. When those three died, it meant missing out on an alchemist. That was a huge loss to her. Not forming a contract with you is also for your own good. I don't need to listen to your orders if they're wrong, so I might be able to interrupt you in the middle of doing something stupid like that and save your life, said Ling. Long Chen's lip curled. You should stop trying to scam me. First, you say that I'm tough, and now you say that you can save me? Ling-er blushed slightly, but she stuck out her tongue at him. Fine, count yourself smart. Let's start refining. Let me see your techniques. If they're not good enough, I can teach you a few things. Do I need you to teach me alchemy? Long Chen's gaze grew odd. This girl really did dare to say anything. Of course, as a demonic furnace, refining demonic pills requires my guidance. Demonic pills are very different from ordinary medicinal pills, said Ling-er confidently. All right, then please, Grandmaster Ling-er, guide me. Long Chen cupped his fists, intentionally acting solemn. As a result, she didn't realize that he was just teasing her. Long Chen thought about it and chose the simplest life-star pill. It was the pill he had refined the most of, and he was very familiar with it. A flame burst into existence in Long Chen's hand. He was about to start warming the furnace when Ling-er exclaimed, "Hey, it would be best if you used my flame to refine a demonic pill. Your flame is too much on the yang side and will impair my demonic qi." Long Chen stared at her. Are you demanding that I give my spiritual strength for you to control? You don't trust me? Asked Ling-er nervously. That's not it. Since you could go into my spiritual space, it means I have no defense against you. It's just that my spiritual strength isn't so easy to control. Tish, you're looking down on me too much. No matter how great your spiritual strength is, I can control it easily. Alright, then try it. Long Chen didn't bother convincing her. Sitting down on a stone, he passed a portion of his spiritual strength to Ling-er. The demonic furnace shuddered, and the runes on it slowly lit up. Following that, a bewitching blue flame sprout ignited. Long Chen nodded slightly. Ling-er definitely did have some alchemy experience. Her technique for warming the furnace was normal. Although there were some aspects she did differently than him, it was all within the norms. As if to prove it to Long Chen, Ling-er began to control his spiritual strength, using it as fuel for the flame. Her flame control was quite precise. Of course, that precision was only good to other alchemists. In front of Long Chen, it could be called ordinary, extremely ordinary. He didn't say anything though. He found that Ling-er's intelligence wasn't that high, and she lacked the viciousness of most demonic weapons. That was why Long Chen dared to accept her into his spiritual space without any contract. How's that? My flame control arts are pretty good, right? Said Ling-er proudly. Yes, they're all right, I suppose. What's that supposed to mean? You mean just barely? Demanded Ling-er. Oh, you heard that? Ooh, you bully. You're looking down on me. Let's just focus on our first cooperation. I will pass on the technique to refine this pill to you. I'll be in charge of the merger, and you maintain the flame. Rather than arguing with a child, Long Chen began to take out medicinal powders. Seeing that, Ling-er also became serious. The lid automatically opened, and one precious medicinal powder entered after another. Increase the heat, said Long Chen. I can't go stronger, or two of the ingredients will have their medicinal effect drop. Weaken it, shouted Long Chen. I can't, or the merger won't be complete. It will reduce the quality of the final pill. Quick, change the flame. Long Chen's expression began to grow ugly. It's too soon. Wait a bit more. Don't worry, I have more experience than you. Ooh, Long Chen's face darkened. If Ling-er wasn't a girl, he'd have definitely cursed her. He wanted her to go east, so she went west. She wasn't following his directions at all. It seemed that she had the utmost confidence in her own alchemy experience. To set up a good impression, Long Chen chose not to say anything further. He had told Ling-er what she needed to do, so she could do what she pleased. He wanted to see what level she could mess around to. Eventually, the pill refining process came to an end. The furnace's light slowly faded. Has it succeeded? Let's see, sneered Long Chen. About that, it seems. The lid slowly opened. Long Chen looked inside to see a long black entity. He smiled. Congratulations, Grandmaster Ling-er. You've managed to refine a giant turd. Seeing that long oval-shaped result, Ling-er was dumbfounded. That was different from her predictions. Long Chen took a deep breath. He praised her. In all my life, it's my first time refining such a divine pill. If my enemies knew of it, they would probably die from laughing. I've gained another killer trump card. Even Ling-er could now hear his anger. She awkwardly said, I don't know what's going on. Based on my experience, this pill. Well, maybe my experience was wrong. She hastily changed her tone when she saw his expression sink. But she said, You can't blame me entirely. It's those 3 masters who were garbage. The possessor of the pill's sovereign memories who controlled unparalleled alchemy arts had just refined a giant turd. If the pill's sovereign were to learn of this, perhaps she would wipe him out of existence for shaming her. Big brother Long Chen, don't be angry. Your face is quite scary like that. Here, I'll let you control my spirit instead, said Ling-er pleadingly. Letting Long Chen control her spirit would be giving all the responsibility of the alchemy to him. It also meant that if he wished for it, he could control her into forming a contract. Hearing that, Long Chen shook his head with a bitter smile. Getting angry with a foolish girl was meaningless. Long Chen took a deep breath and did his best to gentle his tone. Let me tell you, those previous masters of yours were just some dabblers. Their alchemy arts were worse than crap. If you want to learn alchemy, you should learn from me. Now stop causing trouble, understand? Yes. Like a child who realized she had made a mistake, Ling-er became extremely obedient, nodding like a chicken pecking at corn. Here, although I haven't refined a demonic pill before, I know the technique. I'll take the lead, and you support me. Long Chen started a new refinement. This time, his full spiritual strength entered the pill furnace. Sensing her nervousness, he said, Don't worry. I'm not that kind of despicable person. With his soul merged into the demon moon furnace, he found that it really was different from normal pill furnaces. The runes on it were absorbing a very strange energy from the world. That energy was a bit sinister, lying on the inside. That energy contained qualities that were the opposite of what was required during normal refining processes. Ling-er, concentrate on remembering this process, said Long Chen. Yes. Medicinal powders began to merge within the furnace. Under Long Chen's control, everything went very smoothly. The refinement was quickly completed. The lid opened, revealing 7 bright pills. Ling-er clapped her hands excitedly. They're round and not strung together like the last turd. Ling-er trailed off when she saw Long Chen glaring at her. She stuck out her tongue and shut her mouth. Long Chen took out one of those pills. He couldn't help frowning. It can barely count as high grade. There aren't even pill rings. He didn't even know how many life-star pills he had refined in the past. He was able to refine them into top-grade pills with his eyes closed. But these were barely even high-grade. Long Chen swallowed one of them. The pill's energy exploded like a volcano, filling his mouth with a burning sensation. The Life Star pill was originally a very gentle pill, but after being refined into a demonic pill, it became so intense. Although it's only high-grade, the effect is several times greater than an ordinary high-grade pill. It might even reach the level of a top-grade pill. Demonic pills really are strange. If it was refined into top grade, then a normal person wouldn't even be able to consume one, praised Long Chen. Demonic pills were extremely particular. They were able to grasp a trace of strange energy within the world, giving the medicinal effect its own life. As for top-grade pills, in order for them to gain a spirit, they needed to undergo tribulation first, just like the 9 Lotus Soul condensing pill that he had given Meng-Chi. However, these demonic pills had their own spiritual fluctuations even without a tribulation. Those fluctuations definitely contained something sinister and violent. It was due to this that its medicinal effect was so explosive. If the body could endure it, then the effect would be 10 times greater than a corresponding normal pill. Demonic pills could only be refined by a demonic furnace. Demonic furnaces were the rarest of all demonic weapons, and demonic weapons were existences that only existed in stories on the Martial Heaven continent. No one had ever seen one, let alone forged one. The Martial Heaven continent didn't have techniques to create such a weapon. Guaran had flipped through the ancient records, with even the Huayan sect helping him find information on it, only to end up empty-handed. Just a little high-grade pill possessed such a powerful effect. If it was top-grade, then it would be amazing. Ling, this time you refine it, said Long Chen. Me? I don't think I can. Your flame changes occurred too quickly for me to understand. Ling-er was apprehensive. After seeing him refine pills, she understood why Long Chen turned his nose up at her 3 previous alchemist masters. His alchemy arts could not be compared to theirs. Even after focusing on memorizing his technique, there were still areas she hadn't managed to remember. Don't be afraid. We have as many ingredients as you need, comforted Long Chen. Hearing that, under his encouragement, she tried to refine the same pill. Her memory was actually quite amazing. She perfectly replicated the order of adding the medicinal powders, the timing, and the merger times. He was delighted by this inside. If he could raise her into an alchemist master, wouldn't he no longer need to refine pills himself? As she refined, Long Chen examined the demon moon furnace. He also spread his senses toward the subtle changes in heaven and earth. He found that there were several runes activating when she refined pills, drawing in that strange energy within the world. The strange thing was that those runes would only flicker slightly before going dark again. They didn't seem to be fully activated. The lid popped open, and 3 balls appeared. They looked like rabbit poop. Big brother Long Chen, am I too dumb? Long Chen smiled and comforted her. You're already very amazing. You weren't wrong in any aspect of the merger process, even in the 197 steps. You messed up 7 of the 2,621 flame changes, and that's after only watching me once. By the Martial Heaven continent standards, you are an absolute genius. Really? Ling-er grew excited again. Ling-er, why are those runes still not fully activated? Them? They are demonic runes used for absorbing the demonic energy within heaven and earth. I've never had the power to fully activate them, answered Ling. No wonder. Long Chen suddenly understood. Even if it had been his first time refining demonic pills, the results shouldn't have been what they were. Ling, can you fully trust me? Yes. You are the person I trust the most in this world. Ling-er nodded sincerely. Through the exchange between their souls during this time, she had been able to sense his true heart more and more. Then I will leave a rune within your soul, and it will allow our souls to fully merge. That way, I can use my spiritual strength to help you fully activate those runes. Is that all right? Yes. Ling-er agreed without hesitation. Long Chen smiled and rubbed her head. Thank you. Thank you for your trust in me. Let's start. A rune appeared on Long Chen's forehead, and it slowly entered Ling-er's forehead. The divine gate star within his divine gate shook. A sea of spiritual strength gushed into Ling-er. As the demon moon furnace rumbled, the dark runes began to light up, growing brighter and brighter. Don't suppress it. Fully unleash it. You need to activate all your runes, or we won't be able to refine higher-level pills, shouted Long Chen. Ling-er gave up on controlling the speed of things. She allowed Long Chen's spiritual strength to pour into the demon moon furnace. As more and more of his spiritual strength entered, a bewitching divine light blazed out of the demon moon furnace. As a result, the surrounding mountains began to collapse. A wave of light suddenly shot out, shattering the mountains and turning the rubble to nothingness. This demon moon furnace isn't just capable of refining pills. It's also a powerful killing weapon. Long Chen hadn't expected it to suddenly unleash such immense power after its runes were activated. He also found that there were thousands and thousands of runes on the furnace, and only 70% of them were shining with the help of his spiritual strength. Some runes were still dim. Ling-er cried out excitedly. She felt like her shackles had been removed. After an incense stick's worth of time, Long Chen managed to activate over 80% of the Demon Moon Furnace's runes, but he had exhausted his spiritual strength in the process. Stars were spinning in his head. He couldn't activate the remaining runes in this state. Big brother Long Chen, I feel much stronger than before. Let's keep refining pills. Ling-er grabbed Long Chen's hand and cried out excitedly. Wait a moment. I need to rest. Long Chen sat on his butt, resting for 6 full hours before getting back up. All right, let's see the results this time. Long Chen was full of anticipation. By exhausting almost all his spiritual strength, Long Chen had managed to activate 80% of the runes on the Demon Moon Furnace. As a result, Ling-er was now able to control her body much easier. When they started refining again, it was much smoother. The refinement was quickly finished, with 9 high-grade pills forming. Furthermore, 3 of them had pill rings. The higher the quality of the refinement, the more it benefited her. It was a slow improvement. A furnace that had managed to go through 10,000 refinements only continued to improve as it aged. Ling-er, let me demonstrate again. There were a few parts where your flame control wasn't good enough. Otherwise, we would have a 60% chance of refining top-grade pills. Here, follow along, said Long Chen. Yes. Ling-er nodded enthusiastically. She already viewed Long Chen like a god. His alchemy arts were so amazing that she felt like her future was full of light now. Blue flames ignited within the pill furnace. The temperature slowly climbed. Long Chen explained, what I taught you before were just some middling techniques. You've grasped the fundamentals and are just lacking experience in this regard. To save time, I'll pass on some higher-tier techniques. They have more stringent requirements. Hence, there can't be the slightest error when using them or the result will be garbage. Long Chen's flame energy suddenly rose to a new level. He was no longer using small flames. The pill furnace began to rumble. This kind of flame can increase the refining speed, as well as seal more of the medicinal energy inside the pills. That will give the resulting pills greater spirituality. As Long Chen explained, he gave a demonstration as well. He was just like a master chef, perfectly controlling the heat and ingredients as they merged together. Ling-er was dazzled. In just a few breaths' time, the refinement was complete. Long Chen smiled. After activating the runes, the Demon Moon Furnace is much more effective. It sounded like monsters were trying to charge out of the furnace. Ling-er was delighted by this because she could already tell what grade the pills inside were. As expected, when the lid opened, it revealed 9 top-grade Life Star pills. They were smashing around the furnace, trying to break through it. When the lid opened, they charged toward Long Chen and Ling-er as if wanting to murder them. I made you, and you want to kill me? Let's see just how strong you are. Long Chen waved his hand, and lightning blasted into them. The 9 Life Star pills were enveloped by lightning, and their auras exploded. They transformed into giant tree demons larger than magical beasts. Their branches twined around Long Chen and then pulled, trying to tear him apart. Creaking sounds rang out from how hard they pulled, but suddenly, the branches were blown apart. The tree demons vanished from the impact and reverted to medicinal pills. They were blown back, but they didn't flee. Instead, they charged back. Long Chen reached out and stuffed one of them into his mouth. Boom! The pill actually exploded in his mouth. Although Long Chen had been prepared for how ferocious these pills would be, his mouth was now numb, with his tongue feeling too swollen to use. Wipe them out. Long Chen called out to Ling-er. The Demon Moon Furnace's runes lit up and blue light swords shot out, destroying the pills. As he had thought, the Demon Moon Furnace wasn't just capable of refining pills. It was also a frightening demonic weapon. Big brother Long Chen, you're amazing. Just from those 9 top-grade pills, I definitely felt my power increase slightly. Ling-er was incredibly excited. Long Chen waved his hand, indicating for her not to talk now. He was still sensing the power of the pill he had consumed. After a moment, he spat out black mist. That demonic pill was pretty strong. Its energy was definitely 10 times greater than the normal variant. But it's also not something that just anyone can eat, sighed Long Chen. Just now, he had intentionally unleashed his lightning to stimulate their spirits, increasing their power to the maximum by turning them into tribulation pills. However, the result of consuming the pill was something that only he was able to endure. Even a dragon blood warrior would be blasted apart. This was just a life star pill, something that was very gentle, and its main ingredient was just a plant's flowering fruit. If it had been something like a magical beast's crystal core, then it would be even more violent. Life star pills were useless to him now, but since he was most familiar with them, he used them as an experiment to gain some fundamental knowledge of the power of demonic pills. This would also serve as Ling-er's foundation for refining other pills. Again, Ling-er, focus yourself. I'm going to refine a top-grade giant pill, said Long Chen. Long Chen took out new medicinal powders. A flame rose, even more intense than the last time. Heaven and earth began to quiver. Ling-er was watching with rapt attention, not daring to be the slightest bit distracted. One medicinal powder after another entered. The energy of heaven and earth poured into the demon moon furnace crazily, creating a giant whirlpool in the air. Ling, control the demonic runes, reminded Long Chen. This phenomenon was astonishing. Ling-er was nervous as she had never seen such a thing. Suddenly, a powerful explosion blew the lid off. A pillar of light soared into the clouds, blasting away the giant whirlpool. The furnace was empty. All the energy was unleashed in that one blow. Sorry, Ling-er was uneasy. She had been focused on controlling the demonic runes, not expecting the medicinal merger to suddenly explode from the inside and break out of the lid. It had all vanished. Ling-er almost wept from the loss. Long Chen patted her head. You did well. Or I should say, we did well. A failure isn't to be feared. All successes are built upon failures. This is a law of the world. We also haven't refined it before, so failures are natural. Don't worry, this is the first failure, but it won't be the last. Ling-er was extremely moved by Long Chen's comfort. Big brother Long Chen, you are really great. All my past masters didn't view me as a person. As a demonic weapon, she was enslaved by her past masters. At the start, she hadn't been very powerful. She hadn't had the power to choose her own masters, so she had also experienced quite a bit of torment. Her past masters always felt immense pressure since they knew how disaster followed the master of a demonic weapon. Not knowing when that disaster would strike, some of them would use her to slaughter countless people to unleash the darkness in their hearts. Even after passing through thousands of hands, she had never encountered someone like Long Chen. Even when she made a mistake, he didn't blame her. Instead, he drew the responsibility onto himself. Don't think about those things. Here, let's challenge our next mistake. Don't worry, every mistake is another step to success. Seeing her eyes redden as if she were about to cry, Long Chen hastily comforted her. They failed the refinement 3 times in a row that day. Eventually Long Chen had to rest. Not only because his own energy was lacking, but because they had taken in too much heavenly Tao energy from the surroundings. This time, he was attempting to refine a nethergate pill, and a giant pill at that. If he used the moon and star refining furnace, it would be much simpler. It had refined countless pills throughout the years, and the memories of those refinements were locked within its runes. However, the demon moon furnace hadn't refined many pills at all. Long Chen was opening it up to a new world. He was also refining demonic pills, so the difficulty was much greater. 7 days later, after many failures, there finally came a moment when the pill furnace suddenly grew heavy. Long Chen shouted, "Ling, stay steady." Boom. The earth collapsed and the heavens turned dark as endless tribulation clouds filled the sky. The lid hasn't even been opened yet, but the pill tribulation has locked onto it. Demonic pills really are special. Long Chen was surprised to see the tribulation clouds suddenly appear. Normally, pill tribulation only came when the lid to the furnace was opened. That was when the pill would be sensed. But the demonic pill had yet to fully form, and it had already been sensed. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and the furnace was shaking violently. Fortunately, Ling-er's skills had grown, and the lid didn't budge. The pill had yet to fully form, so if it charged out now, its quality would plummet. Bang! Finally, a loud sound came from within the furnace that made Ling-er cry out in delight. "It's done!" Long Chen said, "Release it." The lid opened and a large pill shot out. It had 7 bright rings on top of it. This was a giant pill that had condensed the energy of 9 pills inside of it. It was the size of a baby's fist. When it shot out of the furnace, the first thing it did was charge at Long Chen. Long Chen slapped the pill away, but he was forced back a step from the impact, his arm trembling. "What power is that? Why is it so familiar?" Long Chen was startled. Lightning suddenly fell from the sky, striking the giant pill. The might of the pill then erupted to another level, and it began to absorb the lightning. With the lightning coursing through it, Long Chen saw its black and white core. Life and death energy. It's the energy of the heavenly underworld vermilion fruit. All on its own, the giant pill began to absorb the lightning, stimulating its own potential. With the life and death energy flowing through it, it really was like a cultivator. "Big brother Long Chen, the giant pill you refined is actually capable of cultivating," exclaimed Ling. Long Chen smiled. This was a nethergate pill. How could it not be strong? The stronger it was, the happier he would be. The giant pill suddenly shuddered. It transformed into a giant python that attacked him, and its scales flashed with light. The heavenly Qilin horn python. This was one of the main ingredients of the nethergate pill. The heavenly Qilin horn python opened its mouth and unleashed a wave of golden flames at him. Long Chen allowed the flames to envelop his body. Feeling the familiar heat, he nodded. "It really is amazing." The heavenly Qilin horn python's flame was boosted by the power of the demonic pill to the point of rivaling the heaven incinerating flame. The heavenly Qilin horn python was a flame attribute magical beast but was only of the 11th rank. Its flame wasn't supposed to be this powerful, but the demonic pill allowed it to compare to the existence that was 3rd on the earth flame rankings. Suddenly, a tail whipped through the flames at Long Chen. A sharp whistling sound made his hair stand on end. Long Chen's fist smashed into the tail, but he was still blown out of the flames. "Good." Long Chen wiped some blood from his mouth, his eyes shining. A demonic pill was truly worthy of being a legendary existence. It was capable of injuring him. The heavenly Qilin horn python suddenly roared and twisted, transforming into a wild lion that sent a claw toward him. The earth-splitting wild lion's essence blood. Pretty good. This giant pill was actually able to control the attributes of the precious ingredients that had gone into it. It was even able to unleash the divine abilities they had possessed when they were alive. Long Chen repeatedly blocked, with the pill constantly transforming. Sometimes it would be a giant python, sometimes it would be a wild lion. Sometimes it summoned various bewitching phenomena to bewilder him. What shocked him the most was that as its life and death energy circulated, it began to copy Long Chen's abilities. It was like it was gaining battle experience from him. Moreover, its power continuously rose as it absorbed the lightning. It seemed that it was completely fearless toward this pill tribulation. As its power grew, Long Chen had no choice but to take out his divine ring so that he could fight evenly against it. "Big brother Long Chen, do you want me to suppress it?" asked Ling. "No need. Let it continue growing stronger. I want to see its limit." This giant pill was like a cultivator going through tribulation. After 2 hours, the tribulation clouds scattered. Long Chen forgot to even attack the tribulation. Once the tribulation ended, a strange mark appeared on the demonic pill. A heavenly Dao rune? It has been acknowledged by the heavenly Daos? Long Chen was startled. Was it really so simple? For other pills, the chances of surviving were dismal. They were not permitted to exist within the heavenly Daos, which was why the outside world had almost no tribulation pills in existence. But this demonic pill had been let off. After obtaining the Heavenly Tao rune, the demonic pill's aura grew once more. Based on Long Chen's estimate, its aura was comparable to a third-step nether passage expert. But its actual power was even greater. It seemed that the giant pill had set its sights on Long Chen, as though he was the one who had killed its father. It refused to allow him to live. Long Chen knew how to refine a demonic pill, but he didn't know much else. Ling-er knew even less. Boom. Long Chen was knocked back. Even with the divine ring, he was unable to suppress it. The giant pill transformed into a lion and pounced over. Bang! A fist covered in dragon scales smashed the lion apart, revealing the true form of the giant pill. Long Chen had been forced to summon the Azure Dragon battle armor. Only in this state could he suppress this giant pill. The giant pill shuddered and manifested its lion form again, attacking once more. Long Chen frowned. This demonic pill had a spirit, but it was too violent. It lacked any intelligence and acted purely on instinct. Ling, put it away, called out Long Chen. The demon moon furnace shuddered. The world turned dark for just an instant before becoming bright once more. That moment felt like the demon moon furnace had sucked in all of heaven and earth. The demonic pill was gone. Be suppressed. Ling-er controlled the demon moon furnace, having it forcibly suppress the demonic pill that was struggling crazy inside of it. The demonic pill came flying out. Now, another rune had appeared on it. It was a sealing rune. Big brother Long Chen here. Ling-er passed it to Long Chen. Her eyes were like two shining stars when she looked at him now. Long Chen had gained another worshipper. Ling, help protect me. Long Chen sat lotus-style and consumed the pill. When it entered his stomach, he made sure to activate the Swallow the Heavens, devour the earth divine ability that Evil Moon had taught him. Only then did he unleash the seal. Boom. When the seal was undone, the pill didn't try to transform into a magical beast. Instead, it instantly exploded. Long Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. If it weren't for the divine ability, that detonation might have blown him apart. This fucking pill, did it think I was its mortal enemy? The demonic pill didn't have the slightest reasoning. It had a spirit but no intelligence. Hence, Long Chen's hopes of raising an army of demonic pills were dashed. The Swallow the Heavens, devour the earth divine ability activated, absorbing the violent medicinal energy. It then surged toward the Nethergate star. The Nethergate star sucked in that energy greedily. It grew at a visible rate from that energy. A single pill was actually able to grow the Nethergate star to such an extent. Based on that, just 10 of these will be enough for it to enter the second star transformation. Long Chen's heart pounded with joy. This demonic pill might be too violent to control, but the medicinal effect was amazing. It's too bad that they can't be used as fighters. Long Chen sighed. Demonic pills can be subdued. Just at this moment, a voice rang out in Long Chen's mind. He jumped in shock. Moon and Star Refining Furnace? Is that you? It's me. The Moon and Star Refining Furnace replied. The voice was ancient and was indistinguishable as male or female. You said that demonic pills can be subdued? Exclaimed Long Chen excitedly. Yes. I've awoken and can help a bit. Thank you for your help or I'd have died. Then my master's wishes would never be fulfilled, said the Moon and Star Refining Furnace. Long Chen wanted to ask who its master was, but thinking about how the Moon and Star Refining Furnace had fought in a battle alongside a sovereign, he held his curiosity back. Sometimes, rashly asking questions wasn't a good thing. The Moon and Star Refining Furnace continued. When you refine demonic pills in the future, I can create a formation at the core to suppress its evil tenor, resulting in it having a pure spirit. However, I am still in a weak state, and to subdue a demonic pill will take a certain amount of time. As long as it's possible, it's good. Senior, now that you're awake, does that mean that you can automatically refine pills to recover yourself? Asked Long Chen. I can't be called senior by you. You saved me, and you are my current master. You can just call me Moon Refiner. In my life, this is my first time experiencing good things that come in pairs. With your help and Ling-er's help, I won't need to worry about refining pills again. Long Chen laughed almost maniacally. The awakening of the moon and star refining furnace had come at a perfect time. With its help, he could refine 12th-tier medicinal pills. Thinking of that, a fire blazed in his heart. He placed the demon moon furnace in the primal chaos space. He had taught her some pill formulas and had her trained for now. The moon and star refining furnace went in to help as well. After arranging that, Long Chen returned to the cloud chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow race's territory. When he arrived, Kei Yuzhu immediately said, "Long Chen, we were looking for you. The divine families sent word that they wish for you to take a trip to see them." Long Chen smiled. It seems that the star-field divine world is about to be opened. The messenger from the divine families departed after saying that. But they left behind a jade talisman. Kei Yuzhu handed it to Long Chen. Long Chen saw that it was a soul jade talisman. Entering it with his spiritual strength, he saw a map. The entrance to the divine families is actually near the ancient battlefield? Long Chen was startled. The ancient battlefield was what separated the eastern Xian region and the southern Xian region. However, most people chose to go around the martial heaven searing if they wanted to travel between the two regions. When Long Chen had gone to attend the Skywood Divine Palace's Jade Lake pageant, he had passed through that region. But that path was very dangerous, and if he hadn't been pressed for time, he wouldn't have gone that route. Long Chen had been thinking about going to the divine families to see Elder Long and ask about the Star-Field Divine World. Currently, the Dragon Blood Legion was in seclusion refining the immemorial essence blood. Only he was free. After saying goodbye, Long Chen set off. However, he didn't go to the southern Xian region immediately and went to see Zheng Wenlong instead. When he arrived, Zheng Wenlong handed him 17 precious medicinal ingredients that he had asked for. He also gave Long Chen some news. Pill Valley had started to sell 12th-tier medicinal pills. This news wasn't particularly surprising to Long Chen. Pill Valley had always been a mysterious existence that had never revealed their full power. Yu Xiaoyun was a crafty schemer. Pill Valley's foundation had been built up over countless years, and now they were only starting to expose what was beneath the surface. Now that they were selling 12th-tier pills, which were priceless commodities, they intentionally spread the word as a show of power. Of all the people Long Chen had met in Pill Valley, the only one he believed had the power to refine 12th-tier pills was the Pill Fairy. But Long Chen judged that those pills were not personally refined by her. As Pill Valley's #1 expert, she should be entirely focused on increasing her cultivation base, not wasting her precious time on refining pills. These pills were most likely from their ancient stock, and their quantity should be limited. The Pill Valley only spread word of this to prove that they were supreme when it came to medicinal pills. Long Chen, if you hadn't mentioned them, I wouldn't have even believed that 12th-tier medicinal ingredients existed in this world. They are all extremely rare. I did my best, but I could only gather this much, said Zheng Wenlong. It wasn't that Zheng Wenlong wasn't powerful enough, but simply that medicinal ingredients on this level had long since vanished from the martial heaven continent. The ones that he had found came from the treasuries of some extremely ancient sects, and some of those sects hadn't even known about them. They had flipped through their treasuries in order to find these ingredients. Fortunately, Long Chen had told Zheng Wenlong the characteristics of the ingredients, resulting in him finding an extra 2. However, whether those were really the right ingredients remained to be determined. If not, he could only accept the loss. Of course, Long Chen had said to accept anything Zheng Wenlong deemed believable. If they were fake, Long Chen would be the one losing money. He would rather Zheng Wenlong didn't waste his time on that kind of thing. Right now, money wasn't important as time was of the essence. Long Chen said his thanks and accepted the ingredients. Although there was still not a single 12th-tier pill he could refine, as time passed and he gathered more ingredients, he would eventually be able to refine a few. If he really couldn't wait any longer, he would have to think of some way of substituting some of the ingredients. Although the medicinal effect would plummet, it was better than nothing. From Zheng Wenlong's place, Long Chen sat through transportation formations to the southern Xian region. During this time, he found that the martial heaven continent's atmosphere was dead. People had become depressed. A sovereign had yet to appear, so they felt that their hopes of surviving the Dark Era were extremely low. Some had even lost the motivation to keep living. They weren't interested in doing anything. Chaos had erupted in some places from the pressure, but it had quickly been suppressed by the large powers. People were growing crazy from the stress. Quite a few people ran over when they saw Long Chen passing. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, do you feel like we will be able to pass this dark era? The fact that Long Chen had appeared in a transportation formation drew quite a disturbance. Countless experts ran over, surrounding him. Their eyes were all locked onto him, flickering with hope. More and more people surrounded him until the transportation formations were blocked. Long Chen couldn't leave even if he wanted to. Why would you ask me this? Asked Long Chen with a smile. We want to know if there's any point in trying. After all, a disciple only in the Life-Star realm sighed. You truly don't need to work hard any longer, said Long Chen. His reply extinguished the spark of hope within them. Was there no hope for the martial heaven continent? All of you have lost the heart of a martial artist. When the fighting starts, you won't even be qualified to enter the battlefield. The martial heaven continent's victory or defeat will have nothing to do with you, so you can all do whatever you want until you die, said Long Chen. He began to making shooing motions with his hands to open a path. One person asked, do you mean that there's still hope for the continent? Of course there is. Otherwise, why wouldn't I be lazing at home instead of rushing around like this? I'm busy working, so get out of the way. You can all just give up because in this world, you can only live for yourselves. I have other people counting on me, so I have no choice but to work. Long Chen pushed his way through the crowd. Long Chen's words were like a wake-up call. During this time, some pessimists had been constantly spreading fake news around to draw people down, casting a shadow on their hearts. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, what should we do? A young woman suddenly planted herself in Long Chen's way, looking at him with hardened eyes. Either work hard on cultivating so that you can fight alongside us, making you one of the nameless heroes who sacrifices themselves for the martial heaven continent, or just wait for others to decide your fate for you. If we win, you can tell your descendants that their ancestor was trash who was either a coward who feared death or someone too weak to even step foot on the battlefield, said Long Chen. For a moment, everyone was silent. Even powerful people could become ordinary people under the immense pressure that they were under. But Long Chen's words struck many of them in their weakest parts. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, I will definitely work hard on cultivating so that I can fight alongside you one day. Even if I die, I won't frown, said the young woman decisively. Long Chen looked at her cultivation base. She had reached the Nether Passage realm, but her foundation was shaky. She was definitely a wild cultivator, the poorest of all cultivators. Her combat power was very ordinary. She almost looked like a tomboy. Long Chen patted her on the shoulder. A low cultivation base can be cultivated. Bad talent can be made up for. But bravery is something impossible to be gained. It can be the foundation upon which a peerless expert is built. I have a medicinal pill here for you that can change your fate. But whether that would be a good thing or not, no one knows. Long Chen gave the woman a tribulation pill. Quite a few startled cries rang out amongst those with great learning of medicinal pills. Top-grade tribulation pills were things that could drive people crazy during these turbulent times. Many people grew greedy, but with Long Chen present, they didn't dare to move. The tomboyish girl was a wild cultivator who didn't recognize the grade of this pill. Seeing as it was a gift from Long Chen, she took it preciously. Eat it. Otherwise, after I leave, you won't live longer than 3 breaths, said Long Chen. For something so precious, people would definitely go crazy from greed. With the Dark Era about to descend, everyone had become crazier. Killing people for treasures was surprisingly common during this time. The young woman swallowed the pill. In that instant, heavenly Tao energy whirled around her, and a manifestation appeared behind her. Empyrean. She was just a rank 8 celestial. Now, she became an Empyrean, and with a manifestation starting to awaken, heavens, what kind of pill was that? Startled cries rang out. They felt like they were going crazy. This girl who hadn't seemed particularly outstanding or lucky had actually won Long Chen's favor and instantly soared. The young woman was also dumbfounded. She had thought that it would just be a pill to stabilize her foundation, but it instantly promoted her into an Empyrean. Her mind was blank. Many thanks, senior apprentice brother Long Chen. The girl knelt but Long Chen grabbed her. No need to thank me. Without this pill, you might have been able to survive. But now, once you step into the battlefield, your chances of surviving are very low. I'm not afraid. Even if I have to die, I have to die on the battlefield. If I kill one invader, I'll break even. Killing two would be a profit, said the woman. Hearing that, quite a few people were impressed by her bravery. Many of the large men lacked the bravery of this one woman. Long Chen patted her on the shoulder and stepped onto his next transportation formation. Senior apprentice brother, do you have any confidence toward the battle of the Dark Era? Cried out someone suddenly. Confidence? I never need such a thing. I feel like instead of worrying about me, you should worry about my enemies. Long Chen vanished. But his confident words hung in the air. Some of the experts present felt like they had finally seen some light in these dark times. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen must win. Looking at those lost experts, Long Chen had no thoughts of mocking them. The heights they were standing at were different, so the things they saw were different as well. If he were standing in the same position as them, perhaps he wouldn't be much better than them. These people were fated to not be the main characters of this era, so they could only watch. Victory meant that they had borne witness to history. Defeat meant vanishing like a wisp of smoke. After a few more transportation formations, Long Chen arrived in the southern Xian region, but he was still quite far from his target. Hence, he got into a flying boat. A spatial barrier appeared ahead soon, with experts of the divine families standing in front of it. They were wearing robes different from the armor of the Heavenly Dragon Legion. It lacked some grandeur but seemed more scholarly in exchange. Hold it. Or you. Report your name or be executed. Ordered someone amongst the guards of the divine families. Long Chen. You are Long Chen? That person looked Long Chen up and down and asked, do you have any proof? Long Chen slapped him, sending his teeth flying. Weapons came flying out of their sheaths. Those experts instantly entered a battle-ready state. What are you all so nervous about? This senior wished for proof, so I gave it to him. This technique of mine is something no one else can imitate. Across the entire martial heaven continent, only I possess this divine ability. This is definitely the best proof, said Long Chen nonchalantly. Long Chen refused to believe that these people didn't recognize him. First, they demanded him to state who he was, then they asked for proof? That was clearly making things hard on him intentionally. The divine families had sent word that he would be coming, so how could they not tell the guards? Hence, Long Chen could tell that these people were trying to give a blow to him, but regretfully, that was the wrong choice. You. The expert that had been struck pointed at Long Chen, his finger trembling. He wanted to attack with the sword in his hand, but he didn't dare to. At the same time, he refused to just accept things as they were. He glared at Long Chen, not knowing what to do. Oh, do you need more proof? If you still feel that you can't be sure that I'm Long Chen, then... Evil Moon suddenly appeared in Long Chen's hand. In that instant, a murderous aura locked onto that expert. It felt like the gates of hell had been opened. The air became saturated with a feeling of death. If you don't believe me, I can show you one of my saber techniques. It just so happens that those techniques are also unique to me. Long Chen slowly raised Evil Moon, his aura condensing. That expert with a third-step nether passage cultivation base could not remain standing in the face of Long Chen's saber. His knees struck the ground. Only after his knees struck the ground did he recover slightly, and he hastily twisted to the side, resulting in him sitting instead of kneeling toward Long Chen. Are you prepared? I'll give you your proof. No need. I believe that you are Long Chen. You can enter, cried that expert. You don't want proof? Asked Long Chen, seemingly confused. No. How about I give you some anyway? I wouldn't want the divine families to look down on me for not following the rules. I don't mind giving you a show of my saber techniques, said Long Chen. That expert turned green. If that saber fell toward him, would he have any chance of surviving? The barrier suddenly opened, revealing a path through. Long Chen smiled and put Evil Moon away. Many thanks. Long Chen patted his butt and walked through the opening. Within a palace, Elder Long watched the scene playing out on the wall. This Long Chen has no taboos. Even if he wants to beat a dog, he has to see who the master is first. Does he not know this? Other than Elder Long, there was another old man who was a heaven elder. Long Chen's smart. He realized long ago that we were using him against the Yi family. If he made a concession here, he would have to make more concessions in the future. If that happened, there would also be no value in using him. Now, he has the support of the Long family no matter what he does. If he causes trouble, the Long family will help him clean it up, said Elder Long. Are you not afraid of being unable to control him? The other elder frowned. Control? Why would we have to control him? This is a mutually beneficial cooperation with no one controlling the other. Long Chen is quite extreme in this regard. He will not allow anyone to control him. How outlandish. He came from some little secular empire and somehow reached this level without his character changing at all. That kind of character is rare. It makes me think of another person, but he was even more marvelous than Long Chen. Unfortunately, the heavens toy with people. If it weren't for him, our Long family wouldn't have been forced into such a state. Pay attention to your words. Elder Shui, that is taboo, barked Elder Long, his expression sinking. Elder Shui nodded. I know. I only said it because there's only the two of us here. If it weren't for that matter, would our Long family have to be so passive? Now, it seems that the way the head handled it Elder Long waved his hand, interrupting him. That's enough. Do not bring up this matter again. It is a taboo of our Long family, and if the head hears it, it will be disastrous for you. After so many years, there's no point in placing blame. The important thing is whether or not we can return to the throne as the leaders of the four divine families. This will be our last chance. Outyen is our greatest hope, but the other three families are also watching like tigers. Right now, the best thing is to divert as much of their attention away, with Long Chen being the best target. That's why we have to do our best to raise him. The stronger he is, the more beneficial it is to us. Elder Long continued looking at the scene portrayed before him and clenched his fists. He trusted his vision. Space twisted around Long Chen, and he found himself in a world of abundant spiritual qi. Faint mist hung on the flowers along the path. The most shocking thing was that the laws of the heavenly Taos were a bit different here than in the martial heaven continent. However, he wasn't able to tell what aspect was different about them. The laws of the heavenly Taos are comparatively more complete in this place. If you refine pills here, it will be twice as fast with half the effort, said the moon and star refining furnace. So that's the case. Long Chen suddenly realized that it was true. It seemed that the laws here were a bit stronger. Wait, what do you mean more complete? Are you saying that the laws on the martial heaven continent are incomplete? The martial heaven continent has been badly damaged, including the heavenly Taos. Even here, the heavenly Taos are still damaged. It's just that they're a bit better off than on the martial heaven continent, explained the moon and star refining furnace. Long Chen suddenly asked Evil Moon, did you know as well? Why didn't you say anything? I am not so stupid, snorted Evil Moon. The moon and star refining furnace fell silent. Clearly, Evil Moon was saying that it was too talkative. Evil Moon had known about this matter and hadn't told Long Chen to avoid adding any extraneous karma. For Long Chen to know such matters was meaningless at this time. It would only bring more variables into his future. The moon and star refining furnace had just awoken, so it didn't know there were so many taboos, resulting in it directly saying these things. After Evil Moon's indirect scolding, it also fell silent. Moon refiner, sorry. If there's anything restricted like this in the future, you don't have to tell me, said Long Chen. Even item spirits had feelings, and the moon and star refining furnace had only told him because of good intentions. It wasn't good for Evil Moon to chide it so harshly. However, Evelmoon's character leaned very much to the vicious and sinister side, so it was natural for it to not care about other people's feelings. Long Chen could only comfort the moon and star refining furnace himself. It's fine. Senior Evelmoon's teachings are correct. I don't know much about karma, said the moon and star refining furnace. For it to call Evelmoon Senior, it seemed that the latter was still a level above it in terms of quality. In fact, even the demon moon furnace was a bit afraid of Evil Moon. Evelmoon's origins were not so simple. Evil Moon had never said where it came from, and Long Chen had never asked. Asking would be useless as Evil Moon wouldn't tell him. After just a few steps within this world, another barrier appeared, with another batch of experts guarding it. Long Chen, you've arrived? Who are you? Asked Long Chen, not recognizing this person. I'm from the 8th Heavenly Dragon Legion. You don't know me, but I know you, said that person. He wasn't wearing the armor of the Heavenly Dragon Legion at the moment. Based on the rules, please display a token of your identity so that you can pass this checkpoint, he said apologetically. Long Chen took out the tablet that Elder Long had given him. That person confirmed it, and after a few words with the other guards, he said, Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen, this is your first time here, so let me guide you. Many thanks. Long Chen cupped his fists, and the two walked through the opening of this barrier. They then arrived at the peak of a large mountain. That opening was actually a transportation formation. Looking around, Long Chen had yet to get a clear look at his surroundings when he noticed that everyone around him was on one knee. You don't need to be so courteous? Long Chen was startled. Idiot, Senior Feng Fei is coming out. Kneel and get out of the way. Suddenly, an exasperated voice rang out. A whip crackled, aiming for his face. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.